Come in for Harry Toffolo. So Toffolo drops out. We think Nico Williams is going to play left back. Cheku Kouyate's on the bench, and Emmanuel Dennis drops out. Interesting, Steve, to see Jesse Lingard back in there. There was a lot of talk about him joining the club, ahead of him joining, and his performances so far this season. He's not started the last couple of games. Real opportunity again for him tonight to show his class.
Huge opportunity. We know he's got the class. We see that when he went to West Ham and done so well there, expressed his ability. Some raised their eyebrows at him during his football club. He knew what he wanted to do when he come here. He's not fulfilled that potential at the moment, as haven't a lot of Nottingham Forest players. But this is a huge night, a showcase night that they want to show Steve Cooper that they want to start every game.
Big roar from all the fans as the game gets underway. So this is the first of a midweek round of Premier League fixtures as we go hurtling towards the World Cup. Nottingham Forest starting this evening, bottom of the Premier League table. If they take anything out of this one, then they will be off the bottom and above Leicester, whether that is a draw or a win. And Brighton, if they can win it, will go temporarily up to fifth, moving above Newcastle and Manchester United. Steve Cook is on the ball for Nottingham Forest on the edge of his own penalty area, chips it up to the halfway line. Good leap and flick on from Morgan Gibbs-White, but Brighton in their blue and white vertical stripes, white backs to the shirts, white shorts and white socks, have it with Joel Veltman inside their own half. Moises Caicedo, the young Ecuadorian, took an early knock in the game but has picked himself up and has made his first touch with his feet and played it back to Lewis Dunk. Lewis Dunk is approaching almost 400 appearances for his hometown club Brighton. He's played it to Adam Webster. Trossard is starting wider on the left for Brighton rather than off the striker this evening. That has been the change for them. And actually, talking about talented footballers, Jesse Lingard is one. Adam Lallana is another who could possibly unlock the door a bit for Brighton, Steve.
Well, what a fantastic player he's been and a career that he's had. Definitely a player that can come into the fold, sees a pass, lovely balance on the ball, stays on the ball. The decision making is right at the right times as well, so could be pivotal tonight in terms of the way Nottingham Forest set up, being rigid at the back, leaving less gaps for Brighton to play through.
Pascal Gross on the ball for Brighton inside the Nottingham Forest half, plays it back into the Brighton half, and Joel Veltman sweeps it across to Dunk. Dunk to Webster, Webster to Caicedo. He is chased up the middle of the pitch by Ryan Yates for Forest. Dunk plays out from centre-back again. Alexis McAllister is the pivot for Brighton, so he'll link things from the base of midfield. He's done that. They've gone wide to the right. Danny Welbeck's made a run in behind Scott McKenna, who throws himself to try and head the ball behind, and he just about gets there and knocks it behind for a corner.
A great play from Danny Welbeck there. Sees the space in behind McKenna, makes a darting run. You've got to say it's great defending, good recovery defending. Maybe got caught out at the start, McKenna, but made up for it. Heads back for a corner.
Giant television screen in front of us, which is going to provide the replays, is blank at the moment. So TV engineer moves in, quite close to all our kit that we're broadcasting on. I can see our engineer Phil is just slightly concerned when people get their fingers around those wires. Things can very easily get knocked out. Fortunately, they haven't. Corner's taken to the edge of the area. McAllister drives a shot low. It comes spinning back to him. McAllister plays it back to Caicedo. Coming up to 3 minutes played then at the Amex Stadium. Brighton 0, Nottingham Forest 0. 8:15 kick-off in the Premier League this evening. James Collins, part of the commentary team on Radio 5 Sports Extra for Palace against Wolves. Trossard with the run down the left. Gibbs-White sticks with him. He blocks the cross and behind it goes for a Brighton corner.
Great opening start for Brighton. 3 minutes in, 2 corners already, showing intent, playing on the front foot, really taking the game to Nottingham Forest, because they know as the game goes on, it's going to get harder to score. The way that Nottingham Forest are going to drop deeper and deeper. An early goal was going to be key tonight.
Pascal Gross comes over to take the corner. The 31-year-old German in front of the Brighton fans, away to our left-hand side. Then they fall to a hush as Gross pauses and waits to deliver this corner from the left with his right foot. He's dummied it. Adam Lallana was short. They were thinking about going to him. He's run over the ball, takes his paces back again, whips it in with his right foot. Dean Henderson punches it away. Good fist on that. Good contact. Away it goes into the left-back position. And it's Serge Aurier, in fact, who's the left-back. Nico Williams, the right-back for Forest.
Just going back to that corner, I didn't know whether that was going to be one from the training ground still. A little bit of drama, a little bit of action, the way that where the first corner went with that disguise to McAllister. So wouldn't surprise me if that happens again. Dean
Henderson closed down by Adam Lallana. Brighton fans getting excited. Henderson with a little back heel and then a pass to Steve Cook. Cook again floats one up the middle of the pitch. It's Brennan Johnson who jumps for it, doesn't make a contact with the header, chases the through ball anyway. Robert Sanchez gives it a good old clatter downfield. Scott McKenna knocks it up in the air. Lallana jumps and the ball falls nicely for him. Runs into Mangala, wants a free kick and doesn't get the decision from our referee, Darren England. Robert Sanchez then is Brighton's keeper. Familiar back three, Veltman, Dunk and Webster. Leandro Trossard wide on the left, Solly March on the right, Alexis McAllister at the base of midfield, Caicedo, Lallana and Gross, with Danny Welbeck, who's had a little run in behind the Nottingham Forest defence early on, but he's still looking for that first goal of the season for Brighton. Aurier stabs one down the line. Mangala beaten to it by Caicedo. Webster's clearance though hits Mangala. He plays one down the inside right channel for Brennan Johnson to chase. Dunk has it covered, slides in, doesn't see any other option there though than knocking it out for a Nottingham Forest throw on the right.
Again, that's going to be another ball that's going to be important tonight for Nottingham Forest. A little bit of culture to just clip the ball in behind the Brighton defence. They're going to be playing on the front foot, Brighton. They're going to try and defend high, so that space in behind Webster and Dunk will be there.
Aurel Mangala is a Belgian footballer, one of the many summer signings, joined from Stuttgart, started a couple of games in August, has now got back into the side having made a couple of substitute appearances recently, so he plays in central midfield. Throw in from Aurier to the near post, headed away, flick back up in the air to the far post. Danny Welbeck is back there for Brighton and clears, and then Solly March tries to come away with the ball, and Ryan Yates decides he needs to make a challenge. It's a foul challenge. That'll be a free kick to Brighton.
Going back to Aurier's throw there, that had to be a foul throw. I think he jumped when he threw that ball there. Both legs were off the ground, and let alone one.
6 minutes gone, first half at the Amex Stadium. 5 Live and BBC Sound. Steve Sidwell with us for the commentary this evening. All these games, 9 Premier League games in midweek, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, on 5 Live. Radio 5 Sports Extra, the BBC Sounds app with both of those, and online as well. Trossard twisting and turning, corner of the area, crosses into the far post. Nico Williams is there to head the ball to the edge of the penalty area. Brighton get it out to Solly March. That's March against Williams, takes him on, cross into the near post. McKenna is there, good positioning for Forest to powerfully head the ball away. Veltman goes down, no free kick. Brighton keep the ball, back they come to the halfway line. And Dunk plays it to McAllister. McAllister across to Webster. Trossard stays very wide here and is going to have a run at Aurier. Aurier now in the right back position. Nico Williams on the left hand side. So the last one was just from that Brighton corner. That's how it's going to be for the game as a whole, I think, for Forest. Aurier on the right, Williams on the left. McAllister looking for the run of Caicedo into the penalty area. Forest managed to get a challenge in, clear the ball up towards Brennan Johnson. A little bit of wrestling with Lewis Dunk, throwing for Brighton.
Really interesting to see how Nottingham Forest are set up here. Gibbs White and Jesse Lingard are playing really narrow, literally, even as you said there, Ali, leaving the fullbacks of Aurier and Nico Williams to look after Solly March and Trossard. Very dangerous for us. It's going to be 1v1. There's going to be no cover there. You can see now Lingard and Gibbs White really playing narrow, trying to really compact the middle of the pitch.
Joel Veltman just inside his own half, strokes a lovely accurate pass down the right. Pascal Gross looks to get March away. Pass intercepted. McAllister in, read the danger, wins it for Brighton. First time ball back to Veltman, and the passing is crisp and slick from the home team in the early stages. Floated across to Trossard, volleys it back to the edge of the area. That is headed away. It bounces down midway inside the Nottingham Forest half. McAllister to Lallana. Lallana gets a shove in the back from Yates. Picks himself up. Brighton keep playing. The ball is wide to Trossard, who stretches his right leg out, but he can't control it. And that's a throw into Nottingham Forest in their right back position, 0-0.
De Zerbi still there, applauding his teams and efforts, but the ball out wide has to be better, has to be crisp, has to be sharp if they want to get in behind.
Dean Henderson almost caught in possession by Danny Welbeck. He didn't like the back pass from Steve Cook, and he's made the point. It was passed along the byline. Henderson took a touch, but was looking upfield for the clearance and made a miscontrol, and behind it went for the Brighton corner. Who was at fault there, Steve? Goalkeeper or centre-back, do you think?
I think they were trying to overplay. It's
taking the corner short. Lallana to Gross, little back heel to Lallana. Lallana, corner of the area, stands the ball up in towards the far post, headed away by McKenna, then blocked by McKenna. Brighton appeal, hopefully, for a potential handball or an infringement inside the penalty area. Video assistant referee this evening is Mike Dean. He'll be sitting comfortably at Stockley Park watching the action, so if there's anything that needs acting upon, he will be there. Solly March comes dribbling in from the right. Brighton are running out of space, but McAllister They still managed to get it to Pascal Gross, and back they come into their own half. Lots of Brighton possession early on in this game.
I thought that was going to be the case, especially the way that Nottingham Forest formation and team selection come out. This needs to be quick, sharp passing from Brighton. They need to try and dissect Nottingham Forest as quickly as they can with good quality.
Cross in from deep from Pascal Gross beyond Danny Welbeck. Good goalkeeping from Henderson. Rolls it out into midfield and Forest almost get caught. Aurier chips it forward. Brighton are interested in that. Trossard trying to get onto the through ball. Steve Cook is there. Clears it high in the air. Trossard lets it run out of play. Throw into Brighton on the left. Steve.
They just keep causing themselves trouble for us, but I don't think they want to go long because Brennan Johnson up against Lewis Dunk, there's going to only be one winner there, so they're trying to play their way out of trouble.
Ball thrown from Trossard to Lallana, nice skill, but then the pass back to Trossard is off target, so Nottingham Forest win the throw. 3:7:45 kickoffs in the Championship this evening, so we'll keep you updated with the goals as they go in on all the games tonight. Huddersfield Preston, Aaron Paul's at Norwich Luton, Laura Kenyon at Swansea against Reading Forest. Lewis Dunk gets a little nudge from Brennan Johnson, but is able to get his pass back to Robert Sanchez, who's decked out in bright yellow. The Brighton goalkeeping uniform this evening with the light blue gloves, grey boots. Ball out wide to Webster on the left. We played 10 minutes in the first half. This one kicked off at 7:30. Webster's ball over the top. Welbeck's chasing. Henderson comes out to the edge of the box and claims it on the bounce. Immediately gives it to Steve Cook. Cook wide to Aurier, closed down very quickly by Trossard, and then the ball goes out for a Nottingham Forest throw. Trossard A thought he might get a free kick, B at least get the throw, doesn't get either.
It's a good lively start to this game, isn't it, Ali? Both teams really at it, going toe to toe. Danny Welbeck showing intent, having 2 or 3 runs in behind, stretching that Nottingham Forest defence. So we know that ball's on, but we also know that it can come in short now with the space that he's creating for others to get in there.
Steve Cook going with a longer ball down the channel for Brennan Johnson to chase. Lewis Dunk has it covered. Robert Sanchez plays it to Alexis McAllister, who's a stocky figure in central midfield and having an excellent season for Brighton. Ball is played to the right. Back it comes from Veltman to Dunk. Webster's an option for him to the left, under no pressure at all. Again, as Steve was saying, very narrow from Lingard and Gibbs-White. Now Lingard's come running across to chase possession here. Trossard has it on the left, whips a lovely pass into McAllister. Brighton are looking for the switch to the right here. And away it goes to Pascal Gross. Roberto De Zerbi beneath us wanted that to be played a little bit quicker. Here's Gross though on the right, cut back to the edge of the area. Caicedo's in acres of space, miscontrol from him, and Nottingham Forest have managed to clear. Dunk immediately heads it to his right hand side, but Caicedo there was in a world of space.
That's exactly what Brighton are trying to do, go from one side of the pitch to the other.
Here they come again. Solly March dummies the cross, another low cut back to the edge of the box. It will find Trossard, but Trossard has to scamper back to collect it. Dummies the shot with his right foot, tees himself up again, hits it well. Henderson palms it up in the air, and over the bar it goes for a corner to Brighton.
Well, great play from Trossard. We thought the chance had gone, but he dragged and chopped and teased the Nottingham Forest defender to wait for an opening, and all he needed was half a yard. He got that. Unfortunately, he went straight down the throat of Henderson, who tipped it over the bar.
Trossard with 5 goals for Brighton already this season. 3 of those, of course, came in the same game in the 3-3 draw at Anfield. Corner again for Brighton, third of the first half. Pascal Gross, good delivery again with pace. Henderson punches it in the air. Webster brings that ball down out of the sky. Lovely touch, plays it back to McAllister. Caicedo in a central position, 15 yards inside the Nottingham Forest half, and their players having to do a lot of chasing at the moment. Gross back to Caicedo. Caicedo just taking his time here, doesn't see an option forward, so bobbles it back to his goalkeeper Robert Sanchez, and Sanchez switches it to the right hand side. So Steve Cooper's got some thinking to do here. 0-0, 13.5 minutes played, 8:15 for Palace Wolves tonight. Commentary of that one will start on Radio 5 Sports Extra. Sohail Sahi will bring us the updates during the commentary of this one, and then when this one's over you'll get the rest of the commentary here on 5 Live as well. Here's Veltman on the turn inside the Nottingham Forest half. Back it comes to Lewis Dunk. Possession stats to be very much in Brighton's favour already. Here's Webster to Trossard. First time ball from Trossard, played into Caicedo. Brennan Johnson gets a challenge in. Brighton have lost it. Now this is the opportunity on the counter for Gibbs-White. McAllister sticks with him, makes a tackle, and it goes out for a Brighton throw on the left.
Well, we see what Nottingham Forest are playing here, the sea of red players that are going literally through the middle of the pitch, and as soon as they win it, can they spring into attack? Fantastic effort there from Trossard to get back and win the ball back for Brighton, but we know what the game plan is now for Nottingham Forest.
Throwing for Brighton then on the left, almost 15 minutes gone. Trossard side foots it back to Webster. Webster skips into a half volley clearance. Welbeck leaps well. Steve Cook didn't jump because he knew the Welbeck flick on wasn't going to anyone other than one of his teammates, Scott McKenna. They've played it back to Dean Henderson, who's in gunmetal grey for Nottingham Forest as their keeper tonight. That's a risky ball from Williams. It's found Trossard of Brighton, and then Trossard couldn't quite bring it down and get it under control. Williams was trying to get it from one side of the pitch to the other, just ballooned it up in the air and very nearly gave Brighton a good chance.
I mean, it's as though Nottingham Forest have been told that you cannot clear the ball 50 yards up the pitch. It's got to be played out, short, sharp passes, but they're shooting themselves in the foot at the moment.
Ball is played back to Joel Veltman inside the Nottingham Forest half. He comes back to Lewis Dunk, who is the centre of the Brighton three-man defence. He goes to his left to Webster, gets it back from Webster, quickly across, zips his pass across the pitch to Veltman. Veltman comes back to goalkeeper Robert Sanchez. Sanchez to Webster on the left. Gibbs-White starts to close in. Webster plays it to Trossard. Trossard again fires a ball into midfield. Wasn't the easiest for Caicedo to control. That's a better one for him. And Caicedo, that's a nice floated pass with his right foot. Caught late by Yates. He's gone down. Referee saw it. He's going to play an advantage here for Brighton. They're on the ball inside the Nottingham Forest half. Every single outfield player inside that Forest half as Brighton shoot from right to left in this first half as we look at it. Trossard again into central midfield. McAllister lays it off to Caicedo. Caicedo just slowly jogging back to the halfway line. Forest have defended that well because Brighton have had to come back to Robert Sanchez. Sanchez up the middle to McAllister. McAllister to Dunk. First time ball looking for Trossard. Intercepted by Aurier. Quick ball forward up towards Gibbs-White. Tries to lay it off to Yates. Yates has lost it. Lallana plays it back. Caicedo didn't fancy the challenge in the middle of the park there. And Nottingham Forest are able to bring it forward. Pass comes into the penalty area. Dunk gets a foot on it and diverts it accidentally back to his goalkeeper Robert Sanchez. Well,
Brighton trying to overplay as well. Dunk with a loose ball out, but Forest sniffed the danger, played on the front foot, trying to create half a chance. It was a shot outside the box, but it still shows the intent that what Nottingham Forest are about tonight.
16.5 minutes played. Brighton 0, Nottingham Forest 0. You can see Roberto De Zerbi there talking to one of his assistants and trying to get a message onto the field, and again because his English is coming bit by bit, sort of think having to use his assistants to help with that at times, particularly trying to make yourself heard in a lively Premier League atmosphere like this one. Great turnout from the Nottingham Forest fans away to our right as Webster plays to Lallana. He's very deep inside his own half. Caicedo, good vision. Ball out to the right, quickly forward up towards Pascal Gross. First time pass to Solly March. March is away on the right-hand side. Danny Welbeck in the middle. It's run away from March, and Henderson comes out and grabs it for Nottingham Forest. So 17.5 minutes played. Brighton 0, Nottingham Forest 0. Let's get the latest on Swansea Reading now underway. Laura Kenyon.
Well, it's still Swansea 0, Reading 0, but bizarrely the floodlights have gone out here at the Swansea.com stadium. Half the stadium in the dark. Players stopped less than a minute into the game. The Wi-Fi's gone, so clearly some technical issues. It's 0-0.
That's reminded me of my trip to Ellen Road on Sunday where we had over half an hour delay because we lost comms with VAR at Stockley Park. So Laura will keep us in touch with that one. 7:45 kickoffs underway in the Championship. Caicedo, ball almost got away from him, but he was able to scramble it back to Alexis McAllister. Veltman plays it to his right. Gross, cross to McAllister, all inside the Nottingham Forest half. Caicedo under pressure from Gibbs-White, plays it back to Dunk, that's on to Webster. Lallana looks for the 1-2 with Caicedo. Lallana under pressure. It's being dragged back by Ryan Yates, who has got physical. That's his job in the Nottingham Forest midfield, and this time he's conceded the free kick.
It's a huge night for Yates and Mangala in there. Mangala especially having to do some hard yards out there, shifting himself from the centre of the pitch out to the left, so it's not a 2v1 with Veltman and Solly March on Nico Williams.
Veltman plays it to the right to Solly March. Steve Sidwell with us on 5 Live and BBC Sounds this evening. Steve and I are going to be at the St Mary's Stadium on Sunday for another Premier League commentary. So much football coming your way this week. Southampton Arsenal we're doing at 2 o'clock on Sunday. Got a camera close-up on Leandro Trossard there. I've taken a bit of a risk with the fantasy football team this week, Steve. Can't captain Haaland this week because obviously he's not playing. Gone with Trossard, and I had Kane in my team and I've gone Trossard.
Oh, he's performed so well this season. I mean, every game he's been the star player for Brighton. We know he can score, we know he can get an assist. Can he do it though for you, Ali? I'm not sure.
Can he do it tonight, Steve? That's the crucial question. Remo Freuler, the Swiss international, plays back to Dean Henderson. Brighton fans just giving the Nottingham Forest defenders a bit of a wind-up as they play back into their own penalty area. Just trying to put the pressure on Henderson by doing that. Henderson is able just to calmly play it to Steve Cook to his right. Fantasy 606 podcast was recorded this morning, is out today already on the BBC Sounds app if you fancy a listen to that one, previewing this midweek round of fixtures and game week 13 as well. Mangala plays to his left, Nico Williams ball into midfield. This is inside the Brighton half now. Gibbs White onto Yates. Yates plays his pass slightly behind Aurier. Aurier is able to turn and get it back to Lingard. Lingard to Yates. Yates back to Lingard. Lallana almost made the challenge. Now Lingard, 25 yards from goal. Stabs a little ball forward. Yates is eventually going to get there. Hooks it over his shoulder though. Can't find Aurier. And out it goes for a throw. And Steve Cooper not happy with that.
Well, first bit of real possession there, wasn't it, from Nottingham Forest? Built their way up from the back from Henderson all the way through the thirds. Put Brighton on the back foot as such, and when it's that time they've got to be composed, try and shift the ball from one side to the other, move Brighton, wait for someone to slip up and not be disciplined in their defensive duties, and hopefully that creates a chance for them.
Webster playing a ball back into the Brighton penalty area. Robert Sanchez runs to his right. Short ball forward to Alexis McAllister. Veltman back to Lewis Dunk. Dunk across to Webster. Webster just outside his area on the left, back to Dunk. Brennan Johnson moves towards him, passes up the middle of the pitch to Caicedo, and Brighton again just work their way through that initial three-man Nottingham Forest press. Now that's what Lallana's good at, just a little flick round the corner without having to see that Danny Welbeck was there. Welbeck, good centre forward play, lays it off to Caicedo, and Brighton are opening the game up to the right-hand side. Veltman looking for Solly March. March playing on the right, curls a ball in with his left. Lallana chases it, looks for the cutback, that gets blocked, and behind it goes for a Brighton corner. So we'll deal with that Brighton corner, and then after that we'll head to Carrow Road and hear the latest on Norwich Luton. In fact, it's a goal kick, so we can do that now. Aaron Paul's at Carrow Road.
Norwich 0, Luton Town 0. Norwich, don't forget, Ali looking to atone for back-to-back defeats, and they're in full control here in these opening 7 minutes. Not a shot on target yet, but they're controlling possession well. Norwich 0, Luton 0.
Dean Henderson, having taken the goal kick, plays to Freuler. Freuler slips, manages to get the ball to Aurier under pressure on the right, finds Gibbs White. He can't control that because it was too difficult, and the Brighton defensive press works, and it goes out for a throw-in to them. Trossard takes it quickly. Lallana gives it straight back to the little Belgian, drills a low pass into a central area. Mangala read it and intercepts it for Forest. Forward to Aurier. Aurier takes one touch and finds Lingard. Now this is where Lingard wants it, bit of space, and is able to sweep forward for Forest. Plays it to Nico Williams. Lingard continues a run on the left. Williams comes infield, plays back to Freuler. To the Welsh international, Williams again. Lingard has stayed left, gets the ball from Williams, almost runs into Mangala, uses Freuler again. Williams to Lingard. Nice passing from Forest this. Can they actually create something with it? Williams trying to get away down the left. Sliding challenge from Solly March. Wins the throw for Brighton.
Again, good play from Forest, but they've got to learn to try and keep control now, and not the attack doesn't have to be every single time. It's not a game of basketball. They can relax on the ball, enjoy possession, move it from one way to the other, enjoy the passes into midfield to try and tease that Brighton midfield to come out.
Throwing for Brighton inside their own half, flicked on by Solly March. Freuler's there, plays it forward. Mangala on the left, pass forward is blocked. Veltman in with a strong challenge. Forest player down, that's Nico Williams down hurt. Referee is going to stop the game. We'll find out what's going on in Swansea. Laura Kenyon at Swansea Reading.
Well, play has resumed at the Swansea.com stadium. Some of the floodlights still out, but the referee clearly happy to get back underway in the current light. And it's Swansea 0, Reading 0.
Nico Williams throw down the left. Brennan Johnson trying to keep that in, has done well actually, was off balance but managed to keep the ball in play for Forest. Williams, two Brighton defenders with him down by the corner flag. Veltman wins it, knocks it into the shins of Lingard, I think, and behind it goes for the goal kick to Brighton. We didn't get to ask Laura the crucial question of whether the Wi-Fi is back up and running, because a football reporter nowadays, Steve, just can't function without the stadium Wi-Fi.
I'm sure George will tell us in front of us if the iPad is up and running.
Well, that's the video printer.
Thumbs up.
It's the video printer. It's totally blank, which tells you that we've seen absolutely no goals in any of the games as yet this evening. So once a goal goes in, it should appear on that screen, all being well. Brighton 0, Nottingham Forest 0, and we're coming up to 25 minutes played in the first half at the Amex Stadium. We've not really, I mean, neither keepers had anything to do yet, have they, Steve?
No, good intensity to the game though, isn't it? It's really important, I think, from a new Nottingham Forest point of view, that the distances between the back four and the midfield and the front three are all the same. Once it starts getting spread and Brennan Johnson gets isolated, that's when it could be a cause.
Brennan Johnson is almost able to get in behind Lewis Dunk. Brighton have caused their own problems here. It was initially a poor clearance from Webster. Johnson chases Dunk, slides in, and the ball eventually goes out for, is that going to be free kick for Brighton? I think maybe free kick for Brighton, because Johnson was so keen to get it back, but the ball very nearly bounced over Dunk's head. He was then struggling to handle Brennan Johnson, but he ran the ball out to the right-hand side, and Brighton do get the free kick.
But just that, Ali, look how much it lifted the Forest fans behind the goal, and that, as you're a player, when I've been out there before, it gives you a lift out there, it gives others a lift around them, that they know when you're going to press that they've got to go in behind you.
20 minutes left in the first half. 7:30 kick-off this one as Trossard spins a high curling first time pass into the edge of the Forest box. Nico Williams heads it away. Yates plays it back to Steve Cook. Cook is chased by Welbeck. He turns, plays back to his goalkeeper Dean Henderson. The ball goes towering up into the air. Webster heads it forward for Brighton, and Aurier slightly miscues his volleyed clearance, and it goes out for a throw to Brighton. The Brighton manager, De Zerbi, gives the ball to Trossard. He throws it quickly to McAllister. McAllister coming forward to Lallana. Lallana in one quick movement, a touch and a pass. Welbeck lays it off to Trossard. Brighton say handball. Referee agrees. Free kick for Brighton, just short of the Nottingham Forest penalty area on the left.
Yeah, it was handball, wasn't it? Trossard with the clever flick. Sort of bounced up, didn't it? Hit Aurier's hand, accidental, but it was going to go in the path of Welbeck, who would have been free to throw himself into the box.
Steve Sidwell with us here on 5 Live and BBC Sounds this evening. Free kick for Brighton then. It's about 7-8 yards short of the penalty area, and it's on the left wing, just wide of the penalty area as Brighton look at it. So it could be a Pascal Gross in-swinger, or it could be a Solly March away swinger. Either way, with this Nottingham Forest backline sort of lined up on the edge of the penalty area, if they get that ball in the right spot, it can be very difficult to defend.
Well, we're right behind this. We can see that corridor just behind the Nottingham Forest. They're defending a high line on the 18-yard box. There's a lot of room between that and the 6-yard box. It just needs a well-timed run and a good delivery for Brighton here.
Attacking opportunity then for Brighton. Solly March with the left boot, puts it into that space. Players down on the edge of the area. Knocked behind for a corner to Brighton. Leandro Trossard's already over there and ready to take, but it's Steve Cook who went down as that ball came into the box. I think he ran into one of his own players and fell over.
It was well defended from Forest. You see there on the monitor in front of us, they marked their men well and tight and kept them outside the box. Had to take a lack of communication for Forest there to knock it out.
Coming up to half an hour played, first half, no goals as yet. Brighton 0, Nottingham Forest 0. Palace Wolves kicking off at 8:15 in the Premier League this evening. Brighton, having failed to score in their last 2 games, have this corner. Pascal Gross holds his right arm in the air. Lallana's the short option, not going to use him. Curling one towards Welbeck. Yates reads it, Lallana onto it, and Veltman smashes it over the bar. It sat up for him 12 yards out. He gave it absolutely everything, he just couldn't keep it down.
Well, the original corner, there was definitely one from the training ground. Danny Welbeck on the far post. Everyone runs into the middle of the goal. He makes a run around the penalty spot. It doesn't come to him. It ricochets to Veltman, and on the swivel, someone that's normally calm and composed in defending duties didn't show it there.
Nottingham Forest then play out from the back. Ball is with Scottish international Scott McKenna. Uses his left foot to play a measured pass across to Steve Cook. Cook runs forward 10 yards, plays up towards Serge Aurier inside his own half. Freuler back to Cook, and Brighton force Forest to come back to goalkeeper Dean Henderson. Freuler involved again, lays it off to Cook in the right back position, down the line to Aurier. Aurier lobs the ball towards Lingard. Dunk reads it, chests it down, and can only slice it out of play for a Nottingham Forest throw. Replacement ball is ready on the side of the pitch. Aurier takes that quickly to Yates, back to Aurier. Thought about getting the cross in, instead plays a short pass to Yates. Yates is tackled by Trossard, another throw-in for Nottingham Forest.
There's no such thing as ball girls or boys now. The balls are just placed on cones next to the pitch.
Yeah, that's right. And Aurier is frustrated because he wanted to go quickly again there and is unable to do so because his teammates weren't ready for him. Now they come running towards him, throw in towards Morgan Gibbs-White. Webster breathing down his neck for Brighton. Gibbs-White can't quite control it, and the ball goes out for a Brighton throw in the left-back position. Half an hour played. Brighton 0, Nottingham Forest 0. Chance at Carrow Road, I'm hearing, Aaron Paul.
Big chance for Luton. Norwich 0, Luton 0. Carlton Morris, who spent 15 years here in the academy, did ever so well to muscle into the area. He sent a cold cross into the box. Sliding in with the goal gaping was Harry Cornick. He couldn't get any purchase on the ball, Ali. Big let-off for the home side. Norwich 0, Luton 0.
Could do with a chance like that in this game. Trossard's got a kick on the back of the leg. Aurier thought he'd won a throw, went through Trossard. And Brighton get themselves the free kick.
I think you're right, Ali. I think this is going to be a game, at the moment, the way it's looking, a few and far chances between the two teams. Nottingham Forest especially, they're going to have to be so clinical when they get in that Brighton box, or even shots outside of the 18-yard box, and just try and get on the second balls or knockdowns.
McAllister plays to his right, finds Veltman. Veltman chased by Lingard, back to Dunk. Dunk across to Webster. Webster up towards Adam Lallana. And Lallana plays to Caicedo. Little 1-2 with McAllister. Up to Welbeck. Lays it off to Lallana. Nearly tackled by Lingard. Brighton have just kept that. Welbeck, that's clever, quick passing that. Welbeck just toes it to McAllister through the middle. Here's Lallana. Lays it off to Welbeck. Edge of the box. Hits the shot well. Spins to Leandro Trossard, who drives it and hits the crossbar. And away it goes and behind for a goal kick to Nottingham Forest.
Well, the way that Brighton just broke there through the middle of that pitch, with all the numbers, all the Nottingham Forest numbers and bodies in the middle of the pitch. It was like the Harlem Globetrotters, 1-2, 1-2 all over the place, and it found its way to Trossard and sat up perfectly for the half volley. And it rattles the crossbar.
No goals in the Championship games as yet, 3 of them kicking off at 8 o'clock. Our featured 8 o'clock kick-off is Blackburn, Sunderland. Tony Mowbray back at Ewood Park, so that one's goalless. Stoke Rotherham kicked off at 8, and so did West Brom against Bristol City. So no goals in the 6 Championship games so far. They've not been going long. This one slightly earlier kick-off this evening, 7:30, and we're still Brighton 0, Palace 0. Don't miss Liverpool West Ham kicking off at 7:30. Full commentary on 5 Live tomorrow. Welbeck's played to Solly March. March, edge of the Forest area, sees Caicedo in space. Caicedo plays it on to Trossard. A couple of red shirts in front of him. Oh, good ball in. Lallana jumps to try and head it on target. Glances off his head and wide it goes. You feel it might just be coming for Brighton now.
It's getting closer, isn't it? Trossard there with that composure. He crosses the ball the outside of his left foot. It's a delightful ball. Adam Lallana jumps highest above Cook and just skims his head, and it just gets in front of Danny Welbeck and goes past the far post. You do feel as though it's coming though, Ali?
Yeah, you do. It nearly fell for Danny Welbeck. That he had a rueful smile on his face. The ball just skipped away from him, and had Lallana made slightly worse contact on the header, might just have worked out for him. Here's Lallana with his right foot. Outside of that right boot finds Solly March. March running towards Nico Williams, into the box, drives a shot low, palm behind by Henderson, corner for Brighton.
That's why Solly March is on that right-hand side. He favours his left foot so good. And when he drives inside, you've got to keep him on his right, going down the touchline. You'd rather have a cross than a shot, but he comes inside Nico Williams and Powell drives it towards the near post. Great save from Henderson.
12 minutes remaining in the first half. For those interested in the possession stats, Brighton nearly up to 70% in this first half. Gross with an away swinging corner, whistle's blown. Webster heads it towards goal, and the save there from Dean Henderson was almost in slow motion because he had to make a few yards before he could throw himself. But good goalkeeping again. Looks like he's in the mood tonight. Brighton 0, Nottingham Forest 0.
I'm sure there was a photographer in the stadium there that's got the picture that probably paints a different picture if he tells his kids or grandkids one day.
Yeah, no one will have known that the whistle blew. Now Brennan Johnson away from Lewis Dunk. Has he got a teammate in the middle? Johnson, low ball in. Half cleared by McAllister. Flicked away by Gross towards Lallana. Lallana plays back to Caicedo, to Trossard in the left-back position. His clearance blocked by Mangala, who's desperately going to try and keep that ball in play. Flicks it down the right-hand side for Forest. Caicedo just shepherds the ball out of play, and that'll be a throw-in to Brighton.
I've been really impressed with the way the Nottingham Forest are first of all pressing from the front, and then if the ball goes in to the midfield players, they're pressing they're on the front foot as well, showing real intensity to this game has been superb for 35 minutes so far.
Throw into McAllister, play to Webster, forward to Welbeck. The ball just gets away from him, so Nottingham Forest are able to clear it downfield. Lewis Dunk was going to let that bounce to Robert Sanchez, and then Gibbs White got closer, played it himself. Probably a good call, because Brighton immediately on the move and inside the Forest half. Pascal Gross has held on to it for a second or two. We're approaching the last 10 minutes of the first half here. So just as we are finishing the first half, actually Palace Wolves will be getting underway. Kicks off at 8:15, commentary starts on Radio 5 Sports Extra tonight. Gross plays to the right. Brighton fans in good voice, no goals to cheer about as yet for either team, still 0-0. Dunk to Webster, halfway line, forward to Lallana, lets that ball run across his body. Trossard starts to make the run, in behind the Forest defenders, cuts it back, shot driven at Henderson, makes the save. Welbeck on the rebound, can't find a way past Henderson, who makes the double save.
That's fantastic play again from Brighton, is it, down this left-hand side. They work the ball from the right to the left. Trossard makes a run in behind Aurier, he doesn't know where he's going, he cuts it back to Gross, who keeps it low, but it goes straight at Henderson, and then he smothers the ball again. If that goes in either corner, Brighton are 1-0 up, but it goes straight down Henderson's throat.
Dean Henderson, a bit like Aaron Ramsdale, I saw this happen on Sunday, has caught one in a very painful area, so he's just recovering at the moment. I think it was the second shot that he blocked. As Pat Nevin said very delicately on Sunday, it missed both legs. I think that will let people know where that ended up. So he's just recovering, he's going to be okay. Brighton 0, Nottingham Forest 0. Celebrating 100 years at the BBC today. I'm sure you know that if you've been listening or watching anything on the BBC today. Nico Williams receives the ball from Dean Henderson, slings it out over on, played back to Henderson under a little bit of pressure, clears with his right boot, up to the halfway line, it's loose, Caicedo there, and he's going to go all the way back to Robert Sanchez. Sanchez closed down by Lingard, good connection on his clearance, that's gone miles down the pitch. Steve Cook flicks a header back to his goalkeeper Henderson, who immediately, in one movement, bowls it out to Aurier, heading to Ewood Park shortly for an early update on Blackburn-Sunderland. Aurier's ball, easily read by Webster. Played to McAllister. Brighton, the runners are going forward. Trossard's in good space. Trossard, first touch, just gets away from him, manages to keep it in, down by the byline. Steve Cook has come out to follow him there. Trossard's trying a few tricks with Cook behind him, and then Webster missed the pass, had to slide in. Brennan Johnson was hurt in the challenge. Webster went in hard, definitely got ball, possibly a little bit of man. Brennan Johnson's hurt.
Sometimes it's one of them where it doesn't matter whether you get the ball first, that follow through, that trailing leg. It was a sloppy play from Webster, wasn't it? We can see in the replay the winks from Brennan Johnson.
Brennan Johnson recovering, hopefully he's going to be okay. Let's get to Ewood Park then. Kicked off at 8 o'clock, here's Charlie Slater.
8 minutes gone, Blackburn 0, Sunderland 0. A couple of prize fighters really, just feeling each other out early doors. 2 minutes in though, Sunderland with the best chance. Sirkin and Pritchard exchanging passes. Sirkin frying from the angle, but dragging it horribly wide. Still 0-0.
First goal of the night in the Championship has gone to Rotherham. Stoke 0, Rotherham 1. Oliver Rathbone has scored it. Brennan Johnson back on his feet. The game is back underway. Still Brighton 0, Nottingham Forest 0. Trossard has clipped the bar. He's forced a save from Dean Henderson. Another ball over the top for Welbeck to chase. That is way beyond Danny Welbeck and ends up in the arms of Dean Henderson again. In terms of that 100-year anniversary, get yourself to the BBC Sounds app. Get to BBC Radio 2 on the wheel and find yourself this morning's sports bulletin by Mike Williams, which he read just after 7:30, in which he included 18 BBC programme titles in a 2.5-minute sports bulletin. It was really clever, just dropped into the right. It's well worth a listen. Very, very good from Mike. So get yourself to the BBC Sounds app and have a listen to that. 7 minutes left in the first half. Steve Sidwell with us here, watching Brighton 0, Nottingham Forest 0. And it's the game, Steve, actually, as the ball is back with Robert Sanchez. He's chased by Johnson, does a great job for Forest, slides in, blocks the clearance and out it goes for a throw. The game's panned out how we thought it would, hasn't it, Steve?
It has, and it's been a great intensity to this game. We know that Brighton have going to dominate possession, which they have done, but the Forest fans behind that goal, what voice they're in, singing Steve Cooper's name from the very, very start to now.
Ball loose, up in the air inside the Brighton half. Trossard tries to chest it back to Webster. Webster does well to beat Aurier. Steve Cooper throws his arms up in the air in complete frustration that Aurier lost that 50-50. Lallana has laid it off to Trossard. Trossard on the move, up to the edge of the box, plays it to Pascal Gross. Gross dummies across with his right foot, switches to his left, back to his right. Caicedo, back out to Gross on the left. Now that ball comes in, too close to Dean Henderson, and he makes the catch for Forest. Tonga 6, Papua New Guinea 6. I can see latest in the Rugby League World Cup. Brennan Johnson is down. Brighton fans and Brighton players are furious because Brighton had just won the ball off Forest inside the Forest half. It was an attacking opportunity. Brennan Johnson sits down because he's hurt. Brighton feel that was a cynical ploy to get the game stopped.
Well, when that cross come in, I think it was from Pascal Gross earlier on. As soon as Henderson called it, Brennan Johnson went down and said to him to kick it out. He threw the ball in, and there was a quick turnover of play, wasn't there? And Brighton were on the attack there. They definitely did catch Brighton Forest out. They would have been attacking that back line.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Steve. Well spotted. He'd asked Henderson to throw it out. He didn't do that. Brighton won it, and then the game was stopped. I'm not sure that should have been stopped. I can understand Brighton's frustrations.
I think there was, watching that back, the referee, Darren England, will hold his hand up and say maybe blew the whistle a little bit too quick there. Brighton, I think they would have definitely had a numerical advantage there as well, attacking that Nottingham Forest back line.
Brighton 0, Nottingham Forest 0. Where are we headed to next? We've got reporters at 3 games of the Championship this evening. Carrow Road first stop, Aaron Paul.
Norwich 0, Luton Town 0. The home side starting to stir, and so are the crowd, who have woken up after 25 or so minutes because Josh Sargent has just cracked a half volley at goal. Fabulous effort from the man in form. The deflection of the defender, Sargent towards goal, parried away by the on loan Nottingham Forest goalkeeper Ethan Horvath. 0-0 here.
Leandro Trossard's cross has floated behind for a goal kick to Nottingham Forest. I'm hearing goal at Swansea. Laura Kenyon.
Yes, Swansea 0, Reading 1. Yako Mate with the early breakthrough, close range finish after the initial shot was saved. Mate there for the sliding follow-up against the run of play here. It's Swansea 0, Reading 1.
Stoke 0, Rotherham 1. The other goal in the Championship so far this evening. Goal kick Nottingham Forest. Dean Henderson takes. We've got about 3.5 minutes plus a bit of added time at the end of the first half. Trossard, first time ball, runs for Gross. Brighton sweeping forward, 5 men in the attack, plenty of them in the box. Can Solly March find a teammate? Chips that ball up towards Trossard, lets it bounce, chests it down, hits the volley, blocked by Aurier, comes back to Trossard, and his control lets him down for once. It comes off his right boot and goes behind for the goal kick.
We're nearing half time now, and I don't think there's going to be any jeers from the home team. The home fans, but you do sense that we've been in this situation many times before, especially here at the Amex Stadium, where if this game starts creeping into the second half and it's 0-0, the fans are going to get agitated. Yes. They're going to want to go. They're going to want to go with all this possession.
Oh, Dean Henderson takes a risk, driving out of his own penalty area. Solly March is almost able to intercept the pass. Freuler does the job for Nottingham Forest. Plays it up towards the halfway line. Lingard lays it off. Mangala coming forward from central midfield. Caicedo in with the tackle. Thought he won it cleanly. Free kick is given against him. So 4th game for Roberto De Zerbi. It was the thrilling 3-3 draw at Anfield in the first one. 1-0 defeat to Tottenham here in the second one. 2-0 defeat at Brentford in the most recent one. Aurier tries a little nutmeg on Webster. In fact, I think what he was trying to do was knock it into Webster's legs to win the corner. He went through Webster's legs, went behind for the goal kick.
I think he got there in good time. He just made it there. I felt as though that he probably could have tried to have got across him maybe first time. Maybe the ball was going away from him to really try to wrap his foot around it.
One clearance downfield, headed out of play by Steve Cook. Throw in for Brighton. Leandro Trossard heads straight to the white cone, picks the ball up, holds it above his head and throws it. 3-4 bounces back to Adam Webster. Dunk with a crisp pass to Veltman. Veltman sees McAllister in central midfield, 10 yards inside the Nottingham Forest half. Plays to Webster, wide to Trossard on the left. Nottingham Forest now trying to see it through to half-time. Keep Brighton at 0-0. We'll go again second half. Starting tonight, bottom of the table, level on points with Leicester. Leicester leads. Thursday night, commentary that will start on Radio 5 Sports Extra and then move to 5 Live because it's one of those 8:15 kickoffs this week. Here's Dunk looking for an option for Brighton. Can't see one ahead, so just turns and comes back to Robert Sanchez.
That's good play from Nottingham Forest, isn't it? Look at the structure and the team shape that they've got, forcing Brighton all the way back, which is what they don't mind actually, because then that spreads the pitch for them to hopefully play more balls into the gaps that appeared. But great play from Nottingham Forest there. I've been really impressed with the physical output, especially from that front three of Lingard, Gibbs-White and Johnson.
Here's Webster on the ball for Brighton inside his own half. Gibbs-White chases him. Webster moves away from him, crosses the halfway line, does well, finds Trossard. Bit of speed down the left-hand side. Pacey cross, deep cross towards Solly March. March chests it down. The ball bounces once, brings it under control. Nico Williams in front of him. Little switch pass down to the byline. Cut back towards the line. Webster shoots over the bar. He was sliding. Difficult to keep it down. But again, Brighton can't get the shot on target. Brighton 0, Nottingham Forest 0. 1 minute of added time remaining.
Good play from Trossard originally on this left-hand side. It makes its way to Solly March on the far side. He's always got support with Pascal Gross. They link up so well, them two have got a great relationship. And it's a difficult chance for Webster. He is sliding, there's a lot of bodies there. It's going away from him, but he just couldn't keep it down.
Tonga 18, Papua New Guinea 6 in the Rugby League World Cup. That is the latest. Couple of quick tries for the Tongans. Wolves Palace commentary, or Palace Wolves I should say. It's at Selhurst Park tonight. Conor McNamara and James Collins, your commentary team. That is underway on Radio 5 Sports Extra. Once this game is finished, then you'll hear that commentary come to a close here on 5 Live. We've got Reading 1 up at Swansea in the Championship and Rotherham 1 up at Stoke. And we've got about 10 seconds left in the first half. Dunk plays to the right to Veltman, back to Dunk, and there blows the half-time whistle. So Steve Sidwell, we saw a lot of Brighton possession. We knew we were going to see that. We've seen Trossard hit the crossbar, Dean Henderson make a couple of saves. Nottingham Forest, I get what you were saying a couple of minutes ago, Steve, you know, have done a great job so far. The question is, how are they going to score a goal?
Well, they're going to need first of all a disciplined display still going into the second half. They're going to need a bit of individual brilliance or a mistake maybe from Brighton, but they need to try and keep up the high up the pitch in terms of Brighton's half and relax on the ball. You know, when it gets into that final third, then spark, then have that transition where it goes from 60% to 100%. But at the moment, it's just too fast all around the pitch for Forest. But defensively, outstanding.
No goals at half-time on the south coast. Brighton 0, Nottingham Forest 0.
Ali, thank you very much. Steve, this is exactly what you were saying before about Nottingham Forest, that it's a very low-risk type of football. The problem is you don't get much reward if you don't take the risk. But Brighton look like they're knocking on the door.
They are. I mean, it's low risk in terms of their shape and being deep defending wise, but it's high risk the way that they're in possession and playing out from the back. It's as though Henderson has been said, listen, you don't go long at all to Johnson, Gibbs, White or Lingard, because we know the physical disadvantage they'd have against Webster and Dunk. The ball's going to come straight back, so they are, and I admire it and I respect it. They're playing their way out from goal kicks and trying to play through the thirds, but they're just lacking that intensity in that final third.
No goals then in the Premier League so far. Crystal Palace against Wolves is just underway as well. Games in the Championship, and there's not that many goals there either. Certainly not at Carrow Road, Aaron Paul.
Norwich 0, Luton Town 0. We're just having a bit of a stoppage due to a knock to Josh Sargent. He's taking some treatment to our right in front of the Riverside stand. Let me just run you through the action so far. Carlton Morris has created the best chance for the visitors. He played a ball across. Harry Cornick couldn't quite divert it into net. And it is Josh Sargent, the American, who has had the best chance for Norwich. Cracking a volley towards goal. Ethan Horvath with a good save, parrying it out back into play. Sargent just heading off the pitch now. We'll wait to see if he comes back on. At the moment, though, with 33 minutes on the clock, it is Norwich 0, Luton 0.
There have been goals, though, at Swansea. Laura Kenyon.
There have. It's Swansea 0, Reading 2. The home side have been dominant throughout, but a sucker punch from Reading. Breakaway goal from a defensive mistake, and Tom Ince pounced. Clinical finish, and it's Swansea 0, Reading 2.
And let's check in on Blackburn's game at home to Sunderland with Charlie Slater.
Still goalless here, 19 minutes on the clock. Both sides have had their spells of possession, but neither keeper has had to make a save yet. The best chance still remains the one of Sirkin inside the first 2 minutes from an angle after a 1-2 with Pritchard, but he dragged it 5 or 6 yards wide of the far post. Not a lot of quality, plenty of energy, plenty of fight out there, plenty of people rattling into tackles, but as I say, not a lot of quality where it counts. Still 0-0.
Elsewhere, it's Huddersfield 0, Preston 0. Stoke are trailing 1-0 at home to Rotherham, and it's West Brom 0, Bristol City 0. In the Scottish League Cup, it's Kilmarnock 1, Dundee United 1. Let's check in with the early stages at Selhurst Park. It's Palace against Wolves, and Sohail Sahi is watching.
It's been a frantic start here, Kelly, but it's still Crystal Palace 0, Wolves 0. 5 minutes played. First for Crystal Palace, Chet Doucouré, right-footed shot, 25 yards out. He smacked his effort against the post. Jose Sarr was well beaten. Then Wolves went straight away on the attack. Down the other side they go, and Diego Costa 4 yards away. He looked like his poked effort was goal bound, but Crystal Palace managed to scramble it away for a corner which they're currently defending. It's been a really interesting first 5 minutes, Kelly. Crystal Palace 0, Wolves 0, and this is over on 5 Sports Extra currently with Conor McNamara and James Collins.
Sohail, thank you very much for that. You can listen to first half commentary of that. Second half commentary will be on 5 Live Sport following the completion of Brighton's game against Nottingham Forest. That one's goalless so far. We've got the second half coming up for you, as well as the rest of the day's sports headlines after the BBC News with Jill Mackenzie.
Listen on BBC Sounds. This is BBC Radio 5 Live.
Thank you. Good evening. The Prime Minister has abandoned her pledge to raise state pensions in line with inflation. Liz Truss said 2 weeks ago that she was committed to the triple lock, where pensions rise by whatever is highest out of average earnings, prices or 2.5%. Now her spokesman says she's not making any commitments on spending. Meanwhile, the new Chancellor, Jeremy Hunt, has warned ministers to find efficiency savings. Liz Truss has been trying to bolster support for her leadership by meeting backbenchers this afternoon amid calls for her to resign. Downing Street insists her focus is on the challenges facing the country and not any attempts to replace her. Our political editor Chris Mason says that would be difficult right now.
Because they can't necessarily agree who they would want or how they bring that about. And there's also a fear that were she to be toppled, there would be a clamour for a general election. And if you're a Conservative MP right now, looking at the opinion polls, that is the last thing you want, the last thing you need.
UNICEF is warning that the drought in Somalia threatens to cause deaths of children on a scale not seen in half a century. The UN says 6.7 million people will need food aid in the coming months. That's around 40% of the population. The head of the Trades Union Congress says they're ready to take on the government over workers' rights. Speaking at the TUC's annual conference, Francis O'Grady said there would be more strike action and described the government as toxic. The RMT union has announced 3 more strikes by its members at Network Rail on the 3rd, 5th and 7th of November. Network Rail has accused the union's leadership of being more intent on holding strikes than giving their members a vote on its offer. In a separate dispute, union members at the London Underground and Overground will also strike on the 3rd of November.
The best live sport.
Moves in, bowls at edge, a corner. Close to the stumps and he makes some room and he's got hard and high over the boundary. It's a 6. Difficult twirling catch. That is a magnificent catch.
16 of the world's biggest teams head down under to compete for the ICC Men's T20 World Cup.
This is just thrilling, but chaos. This is going for 6.
Hear every ball of every match on 5 Sports Extra and the BBC Sounds app. This is 5 Live Sport with Kelly Cates.
Live Premier League commentary for you this evening. Brighton against Nottingham Forest, the second half of that one coming up. No goals as yet. And we'll also keep you up to date with the very latest that's happening at Crystal Palace against Wolves. Second half commentary of that one available here on 5 Live Sport. And you can listen to the first half, which is ongoing on 5 Sports Extra. Now, British Gymnastics have published a 40-point action plan detailing how they plan to break the cycle of poor past practice and put athlete welfare ahead of winning medals. It follows the White Review, which detailed systemic physical and emotional abuse in gymnastics, as well as some incidents of sexual abuse. As part of the Reform 25 action plan, Sarah Powell, Chief Executive of British Gymnastics, says they will name banned coaches.
We will report it on our website and we will inform our members so that they are aware of any coaches that have been banned. They will not have BG membership and they will not be able to coach within British Gymnastics. This is also part of a wider sports sector reform where we need to have a coaches register, and I know that Sport England and UK Sport are looking at that, and I think that would be a big positive step forward.
That would stop coaches who are banned in gymnastics from going on to coach in tennis, for example.
That's exactly it. This has to be a sports sector-wide commitment. We do not want coaches that have been banned in gymnastics working in another sport. So collectively working around a central coaches register would be a significant step forward.
You talk in the document about how there remains poor, outdated practice. Is that an acceptance that there are still abusive coaches in the system?
No, that is not acceptance there are abusive coaches in the system. This is about making sure that all of our coaches are up to date with modern best practice in coaching and that we provide the education and support around that, how to deal with parents, how to make sure that gymnasts have a voice being central to this, alongside guidance around and policy around stretching, nutrition, weight management, etc.
That was Sarah Powell, Chief Exec of British Gymnastics, and we can bring in former British and Jamaican gymnast and now board member of British Gymnastics, Danusha Francis. Danusha, what are your thoughts on the outcome of this review?
My opinions and my experiences have been listened to, and I think they have come out in this report, and I hope that a lot of other gymnasts, current and ex, will feel the same way.
It's important, as we heard there from Sarah Powell, that this applies across various sports. But what will get a coach banned? How will coaches be monitored? How will the reporting be dealt with? Because we need to know what they've done before we know whether or not they're going to get banned. Yeah,
I think there does need to be a bit more of a specific guideline in terms of what gets someone banned. But I think it's quite obvious, isn't it, what abuse is, whether it's emotional, physical or sexual. It's obviously putting the child, in this case, a lot of the time in gymnastics, being such a young sport, in any sort of danger, really. So I think being able to implement some of the things such as parents being able to watch at clubs, making this mandatory, and then just also more transparency overall. I think if people from other clubs at a competition might see something that's bad practice, or whether that's older gymnasts in a club or other coaches, just everyone keeping each other accountable, and then having good reporting systems within clubs that then leads into British Gymnastics.
And as Sarah Powell said, there is still bad practice in British Gymnastics at the moment. So what are you looking at in order to weed that out, to get rid of the coaches who still aren't keeping to the guidelines?
Yeah, well, there is still a lot of cases that are under review. The safeguarding team is reviewing all of those. So obviously it's innocent until proven guilty. So that process has to happen and it can't happen overnight. So unfortunately, that might take some time in terms of getting coaches that aren't doing the right thing out. But other than that, if there's coaches that just need the education, that's something that's really being looked at. So coach education, as well as that parent and gymnast education, and just making sure everyone knows the difference between good and bad practice.
Do you think one of the most important things here is that athletes will feel that their voices will be heard? They'll feel empowered to speak up?
100%, yeah. And I hope that athletes will take the time to read the reform, and if there is anything missing, that it gives them the confidence to then speak up, whether that's reaching out to me, reaching out to their club. There's lots of different ways now that you can have your voice heard, and I hope that gymnasts out there, and if anyone's listening now, we want your feedback, good, bad, critical, yeah. So one of Sarah's greatest assets from my experience with her so far is that the door is always open when it comes to Sarah, and I definitely think that's a big change from our previous CEO. She's willing to listen to absolutely everyone, take on everyone's feedback on board, and that's a quality that has definitely been missing in the past.
That was, excuse me, sorry. That was the very latest on Reform 25 action plan following the White Review in British gymnastics. Elsewhere, Liverpool manager Jurgen Klopp has been charged by the FA after he was sent off in their win against Manchester City. He has until Friday to respond. Manchester United have been charged by the FA after their players surrounded referee Craig Pawson during Sunday's game against Newcastle. Liverpool's Diogo Jota will miss the World Cup with a calf injury. And Eddie Howe says Newcastle United's record signing Alexander Isak is unlikely to return before the World Cup because of a thigh injury. Let's take you right round the grounds then in the Championship. We'll start with a goal at Swansea. Laura Kenyon.
Swansea 1, Reading 2. Swansea get one back just before half-time. The centre-back, Harry Darling, with a beauty of a glancing header from a corner. A reminder, 8 goals the last time these two sides met. It's Swansea 1, Reading 2.
Yeah, they're well on the way to that, Laura. Norwich against Luton, Aaron Paul.
Yeah, approaching half-time here, Kelly. Norwich 0, Luton 0. Norwich trying to unlock this Luton defence. Teemu Pukki thought he had just a minute ago. Charging down the left-hand side, he cut onto his favoured right foot, but fired wide and over the bar. Here is Josh Sargent on the ball. He's just slipped. Tail of the half, really. Norwich 0, Luton 0.
And watching Blackburn against Sunderland, Charlie Slater.
Half an hour gone here, Blackburn 0, Sunderland 0. I'll tell you what, Swansea's 6 hours away from my house, but it says something that I am jealous of Laura because she's got all the goals there this evening. There's not a huge amount of quality here. Still, neither goalkeeper has had to make a save yet, and the closest either side have come was in the 22nd minute when Sunderland's Alex Pritchard looked to sprinkle a little magic into the game, tried to pick out the top corner from 20 yards out, put it just over the angle. Blackburn 0, Sunderland 0.
In the Premier League, it was an 8:15 kickoff at Selhurst Park. Crystal Palace taking on Wolves. Let's get the latest with Sahil Sahi.
Still goalless here, Kelly. 16 minutes play. Crystal Palace 0, Wolves 0. Fast start from both sides. They both had moments, and it's still very intriguing. Both teams are showing a threat going forward. Crystal Palace 0, Wolves 0.
Commentary of that one on Sports Extra, and then the second half will be here on 5 Live Sport after the game between Brighton and Nottingham Forest. In the Rugby League World Cup, the latest is that Tonga are 18-6 up against Papua New Guinea at half-time. England back in action on Saturday against France. Commentary of that in full on 5 Sports Extra at 5 o'clock. Before that, you can hear commentary from the women's sides. Wales take on Australia and Scotland face New Zealand. Let's head back to get a goal at Ewood Park where Blackburn are in action. We can get the very latest from there right now with your reporter, Charlie Slater.
You call me whatever you like, Kelly. 32 gone, Blackburn 1, Sunderland 0. There's the magic we were on about. Ben Brereton Diaz with a wonderful top corner curling effort from the angle, probably 23, 24 yards out. He marks his 100th start for Blackburn Rovers with one of his finest ever goals. Blackburn 1, Sunderland 0.
Charlie, thank you very much for that. And we've got our reporters at the grounds this evening to keep you up to date with what's happening in the Championship. News of any goals as they go in with your commentary team at the Amex. Second half underway for Steve Sidwell and Alistair Bruce Ball.
Thank you, Kelly. Brighton 0, Nottingham Forest 0. No changes made by either manager at half-time. Aurel Mangala, the Belgian, on the ball for Nottingham Forest. Got to be careful here, just outside his own penalty area. Chased by Pascal Gross. Plays back to one of the Forest centre-backs, Steve Cook, and Dean Henderson finds Remo Freuler. Danny Welbeck right behind him, was ready to pounce if the pass had gone astray. Caicedo's challenge on Yates in midfield. No free kick for Nottingham Forest. Here's March to Caicedo, back to Solly March again in a central position. It'll flick past to Danny Welbeck, gets it back to March. March thinks he's tripped, referee agrees. Free kick Brighton, and that's in shooting range right at the start of the second half. Steve Sidwell.
Well, Yates looked as though or was it McKenna that stuck the leg out? There was not much contact, but enough for Solly March to go down in a real dangerous position. We know McAllister can score from this area. Was it Leicester? I think he put one in the top corner.
Yeah, great striker of the dead ball, Alexis McAllister. Takes the Brighton penalties as well. This one is in a fairly central position, probably about 26, 27 yards out. Nottingham Forest trying to get the wall arranged. Could be Solly March, could be Alexis McAllister. Nottingham Forest starting the night bottom of the Premier League table, get themselves a point, and they would move a point above Leicester, who play Leeds on Thursday. Brighton, if they can get the win, will go up to 5th. They'll also make it their best ever start to a top flight season after 10 games in terms of points. So win this one this evening, they'll be on 17 points from 10 games. Shooting opportunity then. I think it's going to be Solly March. No, he's going to flick it to McAllister. Oh, he hit that well. Deflected. Wide. Corner for Brighton.
That was a fantastic strike. You'll see here from the replay behind the goal. It looked as though it was going to be a relatively comfortable save for Henderson if it was going to go on target, but good intention from Nottingham Forest to clear.
Corner then for Brighton, early stages of the second half on 5 Live and BBC Sounds. Pascal Gross with his right foot, real zip on that one. Danny Welbeck throws himself at it, right foot volley, saved by Henderson. Back to Gross, he comes at it from an offside position, so the flag goes up. West Brom 0, Bristol City 1. I can see goal in the Championship, and we heard about Blackburn 1, Sunderland 0. Ben Brereton Diaz with the goal. So Brighton, Robert Sanchez in goal, Veltman, Dunk and Webster, the 3 centre-backs, March and Trossard the wing-backs, Alexis McAllister at the base of midfield, Moises Caicedo in central midfield with him, Lallana and Gross in support of Welbeck through the middle, and Nottingham Forest have Dean Henderson in goal, Serge Aurier's right back, Nico Williams left back this evening, Steve Cook and Scott McKenna the 2 centre-backs, Yates, Mangala, Freuler, and then Gibbs, White and Lingard providing the support for Brennan Johnson through the middle. McAllister with his right foot just floats one across the halfway line. Webster up to Lallana, nice layoff to Caicedo. Brennan Johnson comes rushing back to put him under pressure. Brighton come back into their own half. Dunk, cross here to Veltman. Veltman sees Solly March in a bit of space, so March has a chance to run at Nico Williams, takes him on the inside, keeps moving towards the edge of the box. Williams slides, blocks the pass. Lingard's ball forward to Johnson is intercepted, and again you can see Steve Cooper frustrated that as soon as Forest get the ball, they lose the ball.
Well, that turnover of possession, it needs to be, that first pass is the most important pass, and it has to be with quality, because it then tees up the whole counter-attack. If it's loose or sloppy, or if the service isn't good for the front men, it just crumbles.
Pascal Gross looks for a curling pass down the right wing, deflects off Nico Williams, out for a throw-in to Brighton on the right. Palace Wolves underway, commentary over on Sports Extra this evening. Sahel Sahi will provide the updates. Goalless, kicked off at 8:15. Liverpool West Ham is your commentary on 5 Live tomorrow night, 7:30. Manchester United Tottenham tomorrow night will start on Sports Extra, and then in the second half move on to 5 Live. Lots of football coming your way as always across the BBC networks. Brighton 0, Nottingham Forest 0. Lallana is pulled back and has lost a boot as well. Free kick for Brighton. Norwich Luton latest, Aaron Paul.
Yeah, pretty tame opening 45 minutes here, Ali. It's half-time, Norwich 0, Luton 0. One big chance apiece for these sides. Carlton Morris with the cross. Harry Cornick failed to convert for Luton. At the other end, Josh Sargent forced Ethan Hove into a decent save. 65% possession for Norwich, but it's goals that change games here, and we've got none. Norwich 0, Luton 0.
Huddersfield Preston still goalless in the Championship as well. One of those that kicked off at 7:45. Caicedo finds Gross on the right. Gross switches it to his left foot. Low pass to Lallana. Back to goal on the edge of the box. Plays it back to McAllister. Veltman moves into space on the right for Brighton. Time to look up and try and pick someone out. Welbeck with the header down and wide. Another chance for Brighton, but still no goals.
Well, it's a great ball in. Danny Welbeck there, giving his teammate a round of applause, because he finds him. Welbeck there just glides off the far post in between Cook and Aurier, and it's a free header, and he should do better. He should at least hit the target. He glances it just wide of the far post. He had to jump high, had to raise.
Goal kick Nottingham Forest, so they're defending the goal in this second half with those thousands of loyal Forest fans behind them, lots of them in the replica red shirts. Dean Henderson, their goalkeeper, clears with his right foot, headed forward. Lewis Dunk gets to the bouncing ball, nods it out of play for a throw into Forest. So they're playing from right to left in this second half as we look at it. Red shirts, white shorts, red socks. Brighton in the blue and white vertical stripes. Freuler runs into trouble. Pascal Gross makes the tackle. The ball doesn't run to Adam Lallana. Had it done so, then Brighton will probably 3-on-2. Henderson clears with his right foot. Webster up to win the header. And I think there might be a high foot there from Caicedo to concede the free kick. Ryan Yates has taken a whack in the face. It's just kicking off a bit between Brennan Johnson and Leandro Trossard. Other players stepping in to try and sort that out. Let's get a half-time at Swansea. Swansea-Reading, Laura Kenyon.
Swansea 1, Reading 2. Swansea clawed one back not long before half-time. They dominated, but clinical Reading seizing every half chance. Jaco Maitai and Tom Ince with the breakaway goals. A slow start when we lost those floodlights in the first minute, but we're flying now. It's Swansea 1, Reading 2.
Thank you, Laura. Stoppage in play here then at the Amex Stadium. I'm sure Steve Sidwell's received a few of these in his career. That is a proper kick in the face.
That was a kick in the face, yeah. I've had about, I think, 10 stitches in the back of my head. I remember at Cardiff, all for a 0-0 draw at Cardiff. Ali, would you believe it?
Ouch.
No, there's no intention there. We know what Casado's trying to do. He's just trying to hook the ball on. Yates has stooped down to try and head the ball. I think he'll receive a yellow card here.
Yeah, yellow card for the high foot. I think it's the right decision. I'm not quite sure what Brennan Johnson was so upset about, as Steve Sidwell says. No intention from Caicedo, but he'll get booked, and it's calmed down a little. So the second half yet to get going, really. 8 minutes gone. Brighton 0, Nottingham Forest 0. Football Daily podcast will be important for you this week if you miss any of the action, so make sure you subscribe to that via the BBC Sounds app. And in terms of watching the highlights, Match of the Day tomorrow night, so Wednesday night Match of the Day for all your Premier League football. And Ryan Yates still receiving a bit of treatment, replacement shirt just waiting to come onto the field for him, because you could see as soon as he was kicked in the face, and I don't want to be sort of too graphic or descriptive about it, but there was a lot of blood flowing quite quickly. He holds a tissue to his nose at the moment, so we're still waiting to get back underway. Brighton 0, Nottingham Forest 0. And still Palace 0, Wolves 0. Free kick for Forest, which Morgan Gibbs-White will take. Lots of Forest players forward for it. It comes from a long way out. McKenna thought he'd won the first header. There's a foul in there, bit of pushing and shoving. So that's a free kick for Brighton.
I'm not sure where the foul was. McKenna seemed to have jumped. It seemed to be the other way. If McAllister gave him a little nudge, but maybe there was something on the ball before that for him to just get half a yard.
Jesse Lingard didn't back off the 10 yards. So free kick will be taken again. Robert Sanchez takes it, plays it to Lewis Dunk on the edge of the Brighton penalty area. Back it comes to Robert Sanchez. Sanchez to McAllister. Forest have got their three attacking players trying to close this down and pen Brighton in. Brighton work it to Webster on the left. Webster opens it up, plays the pass across his own half. It's a loose one, intercepted by Nico Williams, drives it forward, intercepted that one by McAllister. Back to Steve Cook. Oh, he's miskicked it. Leandro Trossard is onto it for Brighton. Wide on the left-hand side, plays it to Welbeck, and the ball runs away from him, and he can't get the shot on goal.
And that is where a lapse in concentration comes from with Cook. Well, we know, everyone in the ground knows, just clear your lines if you're in pressure or under danger. Just clear your lines. He tries to play it out from the back, and then he thinks, I'm going to clear my lines. Trossard gets the ball. Just that quality of pass wasn't into Welbeck there, was just lucky, which you don't really associate with Trossard in them situations.
Yeah, hit Welbeck on the right foot, got away from him, trying to tee himself up for the left foot shot. So Nottingham Forest get away with one. Forest still 0-0 here at Brighton. Played 10 minutes in the second half. Ball is with Joel Veltman, the Dutchman, to Trossard, who suddenly popped up on the right-hand side. Solly March has barged into the back of Nico Williams. Again, Trossard's pass wasn't good enough actually to find March. Williams intercepted. March tried to win it back, and he shoved Williams in the back, and it goes behind. Sorry, it doesn't go behind. It's a free kick from Nottingham Forest. My eye was just caught there by Nottingham Forest bench, unhappy with something going on in the Brighton technical area. So it's just a little sort of tension simmering.
Yeah, a little bit of needle there, isn't there? It's good to see on the Brighton bench Andrew Crofts. I played with Crofty when he was at Brighton, and he's been doing work with the under-23s and under-21s the last few seasons, so good to see him getting a little go within the first team squad. It was a shame that he was down to take charge, wasn't he, in one of the games before Zerbi come in, so it was a shame that he didn't get a full game in the Premier League, but he's part of the squad. Really good to see.
Yeah, Steve Sidwell with us tonight. Steve was part of the Brighton team that got promotion, got themselves back into the top flight, end of the 2016 season under Chris Hughton, and here they are still now, ever improving, having finished 9th last season under Graham Potter. And that is the tricky thing for Roberto De Zerbi, is to try and make his mark and do his own thing, but try and keep the momentum going. Forest have enough bodies inside the Brighton half to win the ball. Good passing. Williams running at the Brighton defenders. Veltman backs off. Cross comes into the box. Webster let it go a long way. Sanchez is okay. He comes running to collect it and then bowls it out underarm with a bit of pace to Trossard. Trossard has got Yates in front of him. Step over. Still got Yates backpedaling. Another step over from Trossard, heading up towards the corner of the Brighton box. Yates did well to hold him up though. Freuler got in there and made the tackle. Forest clear it downfield, and suddenly it's Brennan Johnson against Lewis Duncan. Johnson gets the ball first, all on his own. Tight angle in the box, hits the shot and very nearly scores for Forest. He sliced it eventually across the face of the Brighton goal, and it's gone out for a throw. But that really would have been something out of nothing.
Well, the pace there of Brennan Johnson was absolutely electrifying. He left Duncan a clean pair of heels there. He tried to cut inside. I'm not sure about when you said he nearly got a shot on target. It went out for a throw in, Ali.
I meant he got himself, yeah, you're absolutely right. I'll take that. Got himself in a position to score and then couldn't convert at full pace. Gibbs White looking for a through ball to Aurier, who was steaming forward down the right. It was intercepted and suddenly Brighton come on the counter. You can hear the excitement inside the stadium from the home fans. Lallana's got the ball at his feet. Players waiting in the middle. Gross, March and Welbeck. Lallana looking to thread that ball through to Pascal Gross. It comes bouncing back to him. Caicedo on the left. Trossard's hanging a little bit deeper. Trossard to March. March lays it back to Trossard. Trossard flicks it through looking for Welbeck. Doesn't get there. Still Brighton come. Veltman plays it to the right to Pascal Gross. Gross finds Solly March down by the byline, takes a touch, cross comes in all the way across the goal line and away it's cleared. Goal at Selhurst Park. Sahel Sai.
Only the 5th Premier League goal of the season for Wolves. Alistair. Crystal Palace 0, Wolves 1. A good attack down the left-hand side from the visitors. It was fired in towards the far post and Adama Traore was there 6 yards away, headed it past Vincent Guaita. Good finish. Crystal Palace 0, Wolves 1.
Commentary continues over on Radio 5 Sports Extra, and we'll pick it up here on 5 Live after this game finishes. Nottingham Forest have won a free kick in their left back position. Both sets of fans getting more involved in the game in the second half, and I can see Bristol City have scored a second away to West Brom. So West Brom got the win at the weekend, still looking for a permanent manager, but 2-0 behind at home tonight to Bristol City. Naki Wells has scored the goal. What have you spotted, Steve? Is a change coming for Forest?
I think there's a change coming for Forest. Kiate looks like he's stripped off, getting ready. Let's see what sort of formation this will go for Forest, if there is a change in definitely personnel, but for formation also.
Cheku Kouyaté will come on while Forest make the change. Half-time at Ewood Park. Charlie Slater.
It is Blackburn 1, Sunderland 0. A very average game, but nothing average about Ben Brereton Diaz's wonder goal to the right of centre with his left foot. He bends it right into the far top corner of the net. We are talking the top of the most bins you've ever seen. It was wonderful. A flicker of brilliance on an otherwise abject evening at Ewood. Half-time, Blackburn 1, Sunderland 0.
Thanks, Charlie. Jesse Lingard's number initially went up, but they actually made a mistake with that. It's Orel Mangala who's come off, so he's still working his way back to full fitness as the Belgian. So Kouyaté on for Mangala, which is like for like as industrious midfielders in the middle of the park for Nottingham Forest. Dean Henderson swishes at a ball with his right foot, clears it up to the halfway line. Trossard, rather foolishly there, has barged into Gibbs White. Didn't need to make the challenge and has conceded the free kick. We've got half an hour to play. It's still 0-0, and Brighton, Steve, are getting ready to make a change.
Yeah, it just feels like there just needs to be something to get this game going, whether that's going to be a tackle or a chance or hopefully a goal, but sometimes it has to come down to the substitutes. Want someone to come on, make an impact, whether that's going to be a darting running behind or a crunching tackle. It just feels like the game's just slowly drifting away from both teams.
Palace 0, Wolves 1 in the Premier League. Commentary on 5 Live tomorrow night, 7:30 is Liverpool, West Ham. John Murray and Pat Nevin with that one. Manchester United, Tottenham tomorrow. We'll start on Radio 5 Sports Extra. Jonathan Woodgate, part of the commentary team, alongside Vicky Sparks. And then, like tonight, that commentary will switch to 5 Live once the Liverpool-West Ham game has finished. Forest attacking down the right. They've won a throw in a good position. Tariq Lamptey is coming on for Brighton. Now, we know what he can do. He can definitely add a spark. I think he's the very definition, actually, of adding a spark to a game. He's got a hug from his manager, Roberto De Zerbi. who would like to see his team score a goal. Saw them score 3 at Anfield and hasn't seen one since in the last 2.5 games. Throw into the Brighton penalty area. Caicedo heads it away, and Serge Aurier will get another go. I didn't have a look at Serge Aurier's feet there, Steve, to check whether it was a proper throw this time. Now that one's okay because he's gone short. He went short to Gibbs-White, but they've lost it, Forest. Trossard gives it away. Kouyaté gets his body in the way. It's all a bit scruffy and scrambly over there. Forest eventually win it and get it back to Steve Cook. Closed down by Gross. Ball forward is nodded down by Webster for Brighton. Caught by Yates as he clears. So Webster's taken a knock. Free kick for Brighton. It's very stop-start at the moment.
Yeah, Webster there clearing his lines. He's holding his left sort of shin, knee. Yates called him, but it's one of them ones. It's a free hit for the defending player. And if there is contact, there's always a foul.
Right, Adam Lallana will come off. So what's he played this evening? 64 minutes. Lallana marches straight off the field. Always a joy to watch him. There's always a couple of touches in a game, something special. We've seen a bit of it this evening, not been able to unlock the door as yet. So Brighton going to go a different route with Lamptey.
Well, I think Lamptey's going to take place of Solly March at this right wing back, and Solly March will just drift in where Lallana was.
Lamptey against Nico Williams could be a good battle actually for the last 25 minutes here. Brighton 0, Forest 0. Point will take Forest off the bottom of the table this evening.
Well, if I'm a Brighton player now and I'm on that pitch, I want to get the ball as quick as I can to Lamptey, let him know that he's in the game and Nico Williams is in the game, and get that message across to him, get him on the back foot straight away.
Well, had a chance there, but instead he's been used as a decoy. Longer ball downfield to Solly March. March does well to keep that in play, and then backheels it behind for a goal kick to Forest. He didn't have too much to work with there and couldn't win Brighton a throw or a corner. Goal kick Nottingham Forest. They're getting ready to make another change. Still 0-0. Still Palace 0, Wolves 1. Adama Traore has opened the scoring at Selhurst Park. Veltman runs onto the pass from McAllister towards March. Tries to tow it on the volley to Lamptey. Didn't get enough contact on the ball. Freuler collects it for Forest. Brings it forward inside his own half down the left. Williams plays it to Kouyaté. Scott McKenna under pressure from Welbeck. Gets it back to Henderson. He's close down but clears. Veltman jumps, beaten in the air by Freuler. Dunk comes across, chests it down, tries to keep it in play. Ball down the right hand side. Oh, and Lamptey went chasing after it. Williams put his body in the way, and Lamptey just launched himself at Williams and concedes the free kick.
I think Williams thought the ball was going to go out, but it wasn't one of the ones that just stayed and rolled across the line. On top of it, Lamptey tried to get the ball, but clipped the heels of Nico Williams.
Free kick Forest taken by Williams, given to Kouyaté. Lamptey is busy as ever. McAllister chasing as well, putting Williams under pressure. Dunk wins a header inside his own half after Forest clear. Nodded forward towards Gibbs-White. Now he's able to get away from Webster. Space opening up. Gibbs-White, little flick into the penalty area, trying to tee himself up for the shot. Caicedo with a header. McAllister's volley away is blocked by Kouyaté. It runs to Aurier on the right for Forest. Gross in with the tackle. Back to Kouyaté it comes. Yates on the turn. Hits the shot! Right across goal, and Lingard can't get on the end of it. Can't actually even keep it in play. Goal kick for Brighton. Brighton 0, Nottingham Forest 0.
Well, when Gibbs-White gets the ball there and gets past Webster, I don't know why he tries to cut back in on his right foot. Just take the shot on your left foot, or even go further into the box. They somehow recycle the ball, and the cross drag shot nearly ends up at Jesse Lingard.
Harry Toffolo, one of the signings from Huddersfield this summer, is waiting to come on as the next change for Nottingham Forest. One win this season in the Premier League. I was there for it actually. First home game of the season when they beat West Ham by 1-0. 2 points from the last 8 games for Nottingham Forest. 0-0 here at the moment against Brighton, with 3/4 of the way through the game.
You've got to think for us. There's a quick break here for Gross, but they see it out. For as quality as that they've had, Nottingham Forest, in terms of playing out from the back, they've shown good discipline, but they've not really shown out in that final third, have they? No real quality going into the front three or even in behind. There's been, I can't even think of one pass.
Brighton working it from left to right. Now Lamptey on the ball for the first time, running at Williams, tries to beat him for pace on the outside. Good defending from Williams. He watched the ball, sticks a leg out and concedes a throw. Lamptey's going to wait here, or is he going to take it himself? Doesn't fancy it. He asked Joel Veltman to come up and take it for him. Veltman's about 7-8 yards short of the byline on the right, throws it in, Gross leaves it, Welbeck chests it down inside the box, driven over the bar by Pascal Gross with his left foot, and he thought it took a deflection for a corner.
I'm pretty sure it did take a deflection. The ball bounced to Pascal Gross. I think it might have come off. Maybe not.
That's like me with my Brennan Johnson shot on target.
You just got to hold your hands up sometimes.
Hearing that N'Golo Kante is out of the World Cup. The midfielder's undergone an operation on his hamstring injury. Chelsea saying after a successful operation, N'Golo Kante now expected to be sidelined for 4 months. Toffolo is coming on for Nottingham Forest. Serge Aurier is coming off. That's a great shame for the player first and foremost, Kante. Great shame for the World Cup that he's not there, and obviously for France and Chelsea. It's a big loss, isn't it?
You want, the best players in the world, which is certainly he's in that category, in that position, but he has had that hamstring injury that has kept reoccurring. I think it's maybe 7 or 8 times now that he's had the same hamstring, so it's a problem that keeps lingering at him and needs to get it sorted for the rest of his career.
Yeah, he's had the operation and we wish him all the best with the recovery, and we're sorry that he's missing the World Cup. Preston have scored away to Huddersfield early in the second half. Huddersfield 0, Preston 1. I might just run you down the scores in the Championship as they stand at the moment, because it gets a bit confusing when they're all kicking off at different times. This is still Brighton 0, Nottingham Forest 0. So Preston 1 up at Huddersfield. Still goalless between Norwich and Luton. Reading 2-1 up at Swansea. Blackburn leads Sunderland by a goal to 0. Rotherham scored early away at Stoke and still lead 1-0. And Bristol City are 2 up at West Brom. And it's Palace 0, Wolves 1 in the Premier League. Veltman heads clear. Jesse Lingard thought the ball might fall for him. Veltman is able to clear for Brighton again. No one can really get a hold of this for some quality. Now, Lamptey being asked to chase one. Steve Cook gets there just in time for Forest. Clears the ball up in the air. Welbeck battles for it. 3 red-shirted players around him. McKenna's got a hold of Welbeck's shirt there. Brighton have kept it. Oh, good turn from Lamptey. Tries to go again. Toffolo eventually gets a tackle in and almost knocks the ball out of the Amex Stadium as he clears it for a throw to Brighton.
Well, it's Toffolo, isn't it, that's coming at left back now. Nico Williams has gone over at right back, so testing times here. Lamptey versus Toffolo.
20 minutes to play, just over. Steve Sidwell with us on BBC Radio 5 Live and the BBC Sounds app. Brighton 0, Nottingham Forest 0, Palace 0, Wolves 1. Commentary of that over on Radio 5 Sports Extra at the moment, but we will bring you the closing stages, the rest of that game, when this one is done and dusted. Trossard, outside of his right foot, scoops it to March. March, weak cross into the penalty area, easily grabbed by Dean Henderson.
That's good play from Brighton though, because Welbeck comes short and he drags the defender in, and Solly March exploits that space in behind. There was a bit of quality there. I think it was from Trossard that linked up, and maybe if Lamptey was just backing on his heels there, he would have got in there a little bit quicker.
Brighton fans getting frustrated with the time it's taking for Forest to get the game back underway. They have now. Steve Cook clears with his right foot, headed forward by Webster, intercepted by Kouyaté. Kouyaté runs out wide to the right, loses it to Caicedo. Caicedo plays a good ball here. Gross on the turn, flicks it up in the air. Trossard won't beat Steve Cook in the air. Trossard's gone down hurt. 2 more players go down in the next challenge. And the referee, Darren England, is going to stop the game. Leandro Trossard is holding his head tightly in his hands. He jumped for a header, he didn't win it, and maybe took a knock from Steve Cook on the way down. Maybe an elbow to the side of the head that's hurt him there.
Definitely no intention there. You can tell Cook, eyes firmly on the ball. The way he just tries to spring up and gravitate and use his arms, just catches Trossard. No physios are running on, so I think he's going to get up and he's going to be fine.
Yeah. Said before the game tonight, next 2 for Forest look tricky. Liverpool home, Arsenal away. Next 2 for Brighton. Manchester City away at the weekend, and then Chelsea come here. So that's tough too. Saturday, by the way, our 3 o'clock commentary is that Manchester City-Brighton game. We've got Chelsea-Manchester United commentary at 5:30 on Saturday. Steve and I at Southampton 2 o'clock on Sunday as part of 5 Live's Premier League Sunday. The 4:30 commentary on Sunday is Tottenham against Newcastle, but there's all the commentaries to come, of course, over the next 2 nights for you on 5 Live, BBC Sounds and Sports Extra.
Looking forward to that one, Ali, on Sunday.
Yes.
Southampton, Arsenal, there. People are expecting Arsenal to keep slipping up.
Steve, I was there. They got their win at Elland Road on Sunday, but I tell you, Leeds was so unlucky second half not to get something. Veltman's now gone down holding his head. You're not missing any action. That was another aerial challenge, but I don't know whether other teams will watch that sort of lead second half performance and think, right, that maybe is the way we try and get it at Arsenal.
Well, they're certainly answering questions, aren't they, Arsenal, in terms of their character and personality, coming from either behind to win games or staying firm. But I think you're right, you've got to be on the front foot against Arsenal and take the game to them.
Yeah, they got a bit nervy at the back. Bamford came on at half-time, missed a penalty, of course. Had other chances in the game. Aaron Paul's seen another chance at Norwich, Carrow Road, Aaron.
Cracking chance for the home side. It was Aaron Ramsey after some really intricate pass and move play. He cut inside, left side of the area and swirled a shot just over Ethan Horvath's bar. It looked like it was heading in. It didn't. Just on a side note, Josh Sargent hasn't reappeared for the second half. Todd Cantwell on in his place. I don't think anything to worry about. He did finish the half, but Todd Cantwell on for Josh Sargent. 0-0.
Brighton 0, Nottingham Forest 0. Brighton working it from right to left at the moment, just outside the Nottingham Forest penalty area. They've played it to Trossard. Trossard dummies it initially with his right foot, moves away from the box, floats the ball onto the chest of Veltman. Veltman brings it under control, sends his pass out to Lamptey. Lamptey kills across him with his left foot. Good ball, looking for Welbeck. McKenna's there to head it away. Second header from Toffolo for Nottingham Forest, nodded forward by Veltman. Solly March brings it under control and is hauled to the floor by Remo Freuler, and that is a free kick for Brighton wide on the right.
Silly foul to give away. Solly March is going nowhere. He's going away from goal towards the corner flag. He just needs to stand up there and put a little bit of pressure on and make him try and beat you. Don't give him anything. Don't give him half a yard. Silly foul.
So, free kick. 6-7 yards up from the byline on the right. Pascal Gross and Solly March both breathing heavily in the later stages of the game, hands on hips. One-man wall, Brennan Johnson, just to sort of make a nuisance of himself 10 yards away. Forest with defending to do. Solly March takes a couple of extra paces back and the stadium falls silent, moving into the last 15 minutes of the game. Then you hear the blast on the whistle. Pascal Gross whips it in with his right foot. Good ball. Webster attacks it. Player down, holding his head in the box. Darren England's seen that. Has another look, has to stop the game. Leandro Trossard had the ball at his feet. If a player is down holding his head and it's Steve Cook, referee's got to stop the game.
Well, Webster winning, all guns blazing. He had a good run up, a good stride. I think it's Cook that's down. He defends well, he gets his body in the line and they make contact first. I think it's him and McKenna make contact first. Great defending there from the two Nottingham Forest defenders.
He's on his feet, Steve Cook. Medical staff didn't need to come on. He's holding the back of his neck, and Steve Sibbald absolutely spot on. It was him and McKenna that got in the way of Webster, and then Cook came off worse in the collision. Now surely this ball has got to be Brighton's. Drop to Trossard. Trossard immediately controls it, kills the ball in. Henderson punches it away. Lamptey's there, tries to chest it down. Has to leap high to do so. Side foots a ball. Back to Webster. Webster across to Veltman. Veltman down the right to Lamptey. Lingard goes herring after him. Lamptey. Nice turn. Looking for the give and go with Solly March. Toffolo sticks with Lamptey, slides in, concedes the throw. Lamptey picks himself up, throws it in quickly to McAllister. Played into the feet of Caicedo. Back to McAllister. Brighton moving it with a little more purpose and pace now. Webster wide to Trossard. Trossard over on the left. Right-footed cross blocked. Throw in for Brighton.
They just stepped it up again, didn't they? And you can really tell in their play when it gets fast and it's fluid football, they can create problems for Nottingham Forest. The opening, 20 odd minutes in this half, it's just been a bit slow and a bit lapse.
So we're into the last 15 minutes of the game. Still Brighton 0, Nottingham Forest 0. Still Wolves 0. Palace 0. Crystal Palace 0, Wolves 1. Lamptey again looking to use the pace on the right. Beats his man, gets the cross in. Headed away by Kouyaté. Webster jumps, beaten in the air by Gibbs-White. McAllister is there behind it for Brighton, inside the Forest half. Plays a pass back to Lewis Dunk. Dunk forward to Webster. Webster up towards Welbeck. Tries to lay it off. Can't find a teammate. Nico Williams happy to clear that anywhere. Up to the halfway line it goes. Duncan Johnson battle for the ball. And it runs to Brighton possession, and Veltman plays back to Robert Sanchez. Sanchez to Veltman. Some tired-looking players out there now.
That was always going to be. You could tell that from the first 10 to 15 minutes from the first half. The output, especially from the Forest players, that they was doing a real disciplined, robust, workman-like performance from them. They still need to keep switched on though. These are the key moments now, the last 10-15 minutes of games.
Great battling from Ryan Yates. Wins the free kick. McAllister was trying to get past him. The two of them were running shoulder to shoulder. Yates slid in. McAllister caught him. McAllister's been booked. McAllister was actually in possession of the ball, but he's now been booked for the challenge. Free kick for Nottingham Forest.
We're just watching here on the replay. Great play from Yates. They've both gone for the ball. I don't think it warranted maybe there was a late kick out there from McAllister. I mean, the referee was 2 or 3 yards. Good position there from Darren England, right on top of it.
So free kick Nottingham Forest. Steve Cooper in for a team meeting at the moment with all the assistants around about him. 0-0. Last game they lost 1-0 to Wolves, of course, conceded the penalty, and then Brennan Johnson saw his penalty saved by Jose Sarr. Before that it was the 1-1 against Aston Villa. Emmanuel Dennis on the bench tonight. Williams cross block, behind it goes for a Nottingham Forest corner. So here comes an attacking opportunity for them. Quickly, goal at Carrow Road, Aaron Paul.
Well, guess who it is? Carlton Morris has put Luton ahead. 16 years at Canary. He's just put the Hatters 1 up. It's a great finish. Norwich 0, Luton 1.
Corner then for Nottingham Forest. This is Brighton 0, Nottingham Forest 0. 12 minutes remaining in the game. Brighton, having seen most of the ball, having hit the crossbar, having forced Dean Henderson into a couple of saves, have now got to concentrate on the defending.
They'll have a chance here, Forest. They've got good size. Yates, McKenna.
See what they can do. Roberto De Zerbi looks concerned. Everyone clustered around the edge of the 6-yard box, and Robert Sanchez has 2 Forest players standing on his toes as well. Big man though, Sanchez, the Brighton keeper. Corner comes in, Sanchez goes for it. He's actually beaten to it by Danny Welbeck. Welbeck heads it away, comes back out to the right. Another cross comes in. McKenna's going to attack that at the far post. Heads it back across goal. Beyond everyone behind for the goal kick. 0-0.
That's one of the moments where you just hold your breath in the stadium. You don't know where that's going to drop. It was a deep cross, and the header back just glanced over the far post, but there's a Forester player there waiting, wasn't it, to hook it back in.
Both managers absolutely desperate for the win for different reasons, but at the moment both having to settle for a point. It's 0-0. Here's Veltman. Veltman's going to go down the middle towards Welbeck. Welbeck flicks it on. Solly March was interested. Headed away from him by McKenna. Forrest with Toffolo. Launch it into the Brighton half. Dunk brings it down on his chest. Clears it on the half volley. That'll work for Solly March. Solly March plays the ball in towards Pascal Gross, too far ahead of him. And Steve Cook clears. And Lewis Dunk volleys it up in the air. Ball is about to drop down on the centre circle. Welbeck flicks it on. McKenna underneath it. That will go out for a throw, and it's half-time at Selhurst Park. Sahel Sahi.
Yeah, Crystal Palace 0, Wolves 1. Wolves with their 5th Premier League goal of the season, separating the two sides, breaking out of defence down the left. Hugo Bueno on his Wolves debut with a deep cross to the far post. He picked out a stooping Adama Traore. Neves crashed a free kick against the post, Alistair, just before half-time for Wolves. Half-time here, Crystal Palace 0, Wolves 1.
German striker Dennis Undav getting ready to come on for Brighton here. Brighton bringing it forward. We are heading into the last 10 minutes of the game, and it's still Brighton 0, Nottingham Forest 0. Trossard looking for an option with the ball at his feet wide on the left. It's played back to McAllister. McAllister swings a pass out to the right. Lamptey kills it stone dead with the first touch. Tries to find Solly March. March gets it back to Lamptey. Lamptey's dangerous in this position. Cross comes in. Welbeck tries to take it on the turn. Shots it. Great save from Henderson. Pascal Gross hits the shot into the ground. Henderson throws himself to his right and saves Nottingham Forest. It goes behind for the corner to Brighton. We'll deal with this and then we'll head to Ewood Park. There's been another goal in that game. Last we heard, Blackburn were leading Sunderland by a goal to 0. Brighton getting ready to take the corner. Solly March says, wait for me. Brighton 0, Nottingham Forest 0. Great save from Dean Henderson to keep this game goalless. Brighton fans, you can hear them now, urging their team to find this breakthrough. Solly March, a few paces back from the ball, attacking this goal away to our right-hand side. March with his left foot, goes high and deep to the far post. Steve Cook flicks the header away. McAllister jumps, nods it down to Veltman. Veltman on the right-hand side, followed by Brennan Johnson, plays it back to McAllister. Cross comes into the box, headed away by Scott McKenna. Lingard will jump for it, lets it run over him. Lamptey plays it to his right-hand side. Here's McAllister. McAllister driving the ball to the left, looking for Solly March. And Nottingham Forest should be able to get that away and might even be able to turn it into a counter-attack here. Ryan Yates looking for the ball through. I don't think Lingard will get there. Lewis Dunk comes back to Robert Sanchez. Charlie Slater at Ewood Park.
Blackburn 2, Sunderland 0, 6 minutes gone in the second half. A free kick which was whipped devilishly into the 6-yard box, and there was Scott Wharton to flick it home into the net. As it stands, Blackburn top of the championship. They lead by 2-0.
8 minutes to go in this one. Brighton 0, Nottingham Forest 0. Steve Sidwell sitting alongside me. Great save by Dean Henderson, Steve.
What a save. I mean, was that the chance of this game that was going to break the deadlock? It was a great, it was well played there from Brighton. And Lamptey on the charge here now.
Yeah, Lamptey on the right. He's got Toffolo standing in front of him. Plays it to McAllister. McAllister gives it straight back to Lamptey. Time running out for both of these two teams to try and force the winner. Lamptey looking to force a ball through it. Runs to Trossard, edge of the box. Hits the shot. Great block by Yates. Yates is down hurt, having made the block. Has to pick himself up though. Gross. Play to Webster. Back to Gross. Right in the middle of the Forest half. Webster out on the left-hand side. Brighton can't find a way through. And Dennis Undav is still waiting to come on for them. Lot of pressure from the home team here. Forest fans looking a little nervous in the away end. Caicedo chips the ball into the box, runs over Solly March's head, can't keep his feet. He's not looking for a penalty. No. And Henderson falls gratefully on that ball.
Just on that chance there from Pascal Gross, he's certainly a player in the area where you'd put your money on certainly hitting the target, which he did do, but having that quality of getting a clean strike on it. Danny Welbeck tries to bring it down and he just toes it away from Cook, and he sort of just scuffs it. He tries to keep, he side foots it to try and keep it on target, but just hits it into the ground.
Yeah, bounced up in the air. Dean Henderson had almost gone down beneath it and had to stick his hand up high to make the save. Tariq Lamptey speeding forward. That is a dreadful challenge from Remo Freud. It's not going to hurt Lamptey, that, but he's grabbed him by the shoulders, had no chance of getting the ball off him, and quite rightly gets a yellow card. Goal at Swansea, Laura Kenyon.
Swansea 2, Reading 2. Ollie Cooper deep in the box, clinical finish, his second goal for Swansea. Two sides in the playoff mix, just a point between them, and it's all level, 2-2.
Brighton 0, Nottingham Forest 0. I know why players do that, Steve, and take the yellow card, because they've got to cynically stop the opposition. It's so frustrating, that, isn't it, to watch?
It is, but I've been in a position before when I've done it myself and I've told other players to do it. It is a tactical foul that you do need to do, especially with Lamptey, someone that's come on that's fresh and lively.
Forest are battling hard here. Harry Toffolo's gone down. Dennis Undav has come on. Pascal Gross was the player to go off for Brighton. We've got just over 5 minutes to play. Second half commentary of Crystal Palace against Wolves on the way here on 5 Live, and Wolves are leading that game by 1-0 at half-time. As always, all the post-match reaction, the debates, the talking points will be in the Football Daily podcast for you, available via the BBC Sounds app. So download that BBC Sounds app, search for the Football Daily, click subscribe. It will become the World Cup Daily next month. That is hurtling towards us very fast, that World Cup.
Trio of substitutions here, Ali, from Nottingham Forest.
Commentators love this. Right, Julian Biancone, who's making sure he's getting the hair right before he comes on here, sweeping it back. Taiwo Awoniyi, who's the centre forward we were talking about at the start of the night, the Nigerian signed from Union Berlin this summer, and Joe Worrell, who joined Nottingham Forest as a 14-year-old, has been with them all the way through. So Toffolo came on in the game, but has had to come off with an injury, so he's heading straight to the changing rooms. Jesse Lingard is slowly making his way off, and Brennan Johnson is coming off too. Let's check in at Carrow Road. Norwich Luton, Aaron Paul.
Norwich 0, Luton 1. Carlton Morris's goal separates these two sides. Don't forget, he spent 16 years here, academy and through as a graduate. It was a fantastic finish, couple of step overs, cut inside, bang, placed it past the goalkeeper. Chance of Dino sorted out. Well, he's gone for a hat-trick of subs, Ali. Let's see if they can make a difference. Norwich 0, Luton 1.
Hat-trick of subs completed here, so Brighton getting ready to take a free kick. 4 minutes to play plus added time. Still Brighton 0, Nottingham Forest 0. McAllister steadies himself, curls that ball into the Nottingham Forest penalty area, just hits Webster, didn't know where it was. Dunk gets a header on it, but it loops harmlessly into the arms with Henderson. Henderson looking to get Nottingham Forest away, slings it out, overarm, and away they go down the right-hand side. That's the substitute Biancone. It's an awful pass with his right foot. He'd made great space. He was looking for Awoniyi in the middle, and he's just knocked it straight out for a goal kick.
That's obviously not a sub that's warmed up properly.
Yeah.
Really poor pass there. I know he's running at speed, but it was an easy pass just to lock in the space.
Get the ball to Lamptey, that's the key. They've done it again, Brighton. Williams couldn't handle him. Williams is now hurt. He's holding his groin. The Wales fans will be a little bit worried about that. I was talking about the World Cup. Key man for them at the World Cup next month. Hopefully that's just a knock for him. But Brighton looking to get it to Lamptey. Freuler's already had to take the booking. We're into the 88th minute of the game. Brighton 0, Nottingham Forest 0. Caicedo looks for Lamptey. Williams, he just got there. He read the diagonal and he went for the leap to cut it out with his head, and he got a glancing header, and now he's hurt and he wants play stop. Well, hang on, how's that a Forest throw? Did it hit Lamptey?
I didn't see it. I think that could be a mistake there from referee's assistance, but Nico Williams here, he looks like he's struggling. He's holding his left groin.
Right, throw-in taken by Williams, cleared with his right foot. Gibbs White heads it out of play. Roberto De Zerbi, the Brighton boss, rushes towards the ball. This is going to be a fourth game without a win for him. Not an easy job to do, of course. Brighton were ticking along very nicely, but he'll want that win to convince the fans that he can keep that going for them. Dunk plays it to Webster, 89th minute of the game. Back to Dunk. Dunk across to Veltman. Veltman to Lamptey. Lamptey 10 yards inside the Forest half, looks to work one down the right to Solly March. Pass takes a deflection out for a throw-in. March looking for a teammate, sees Veltman coming up behind him. Awoniyi nearly caught him. Pass is played to Solly March. March can't find a blue and white shirt. He can now. Caicedo chased by Yates. Back to Duncan, on to Webster. Webster comes driving forward for Brighton. Uses Trossard over on the left-hand side. Trossard plays to McAllister. McAllister across the face of the box to March. Welbeck involved. Lamptey's cross deflected behind for a corner to Brighton.
Are your numbers back there for Nottingham Forest, defending with their lives?
Good defending from the away team. Brighton have hit the bar in this game. Dean Henderson's the goalkeeper that's made the saves. Robert Sanchez has had very little to do, but at the moment the two teams will be sharing a point unless someone can find a late winner. 90th minute, 0-0. Corner for Brighton. McAllister, low one, bounces, skips into the penalty area, ball's bobbling around. Forest managed to get it away. Awoniyi is caught by Lamptey. He flicked the ball past Lamptey, and Lamptey's momentum took him into Awoniyi. Lamptey gets booked, and Forest clear the danger.
Yeah, another quick break there from Nottingham Forest. A lot of players deep. Awoniyi just skipping that ball past Lamptey. Lamptey taking him out.
The old Leandro Trossard captaincy in fantasy football is not looking so clever now. At 0-0, Dunk heads it back to Robert Sanchez. Sanchez takes the ball on the bounce, and we'll wait and see how much added time we've got. Veltman with a long ball downfield. Solly March still moving at speed. McKenna barges into him shoulder to shoulder, and the assistant referee is right there, decides that's a fair challenge. Two players going shoulder to shoulder. 5 minutes of added time begins now, and it's still goalless.
I think McKenna's been outstanding tonight, covered when he's needed to, especially in them channels where Solly March has tried to get him behind, or Trossard on the other side. He's read the game very, very well, been strong in the tackle or in the defence, and played the ball simple when he's had it as well.
Goal kick for Dean Henderson in front of those Nottingham Forest fans behind him. Puts his right foot through it, clears it from left to right. Webster comes charging forward to win the header. Freuler plays it down the right. Now here's Biancone in loads of space again for Nottingham Forest. What can he do this time? Ball into the box. Comes off Dunk. Dunk clears it into Awoniyi, and the ball bounces behind for a Brighton goal kick. That could have gone anywhere.
A good, quick, fast break on this right-hand side. Biancone there. It was Dunk that went to clear it, and he hits the Nottingham Forest player. Goes for a goal kick.
Yeah, Brighton have taken it. Veltman to McAllister. Nottingham Forest have got to stay switched on. Every point is precious. They'd have loved the win this evening, but a point here at Brighton will be no mean feat. Caicedo back to Dunk. Dunk to McAllister, able to turn inside the Nottingham Forest half in a central position. Plays it to Veltman. Veltman to Lamptey. Lamptey got Williams in front of him, not moving at pace there, Lamptey, so decides to play it back into the middle of the park. 3.5 minutes to go. Webster slides that down the channel for Undav, lays it back to Trossard, very nearly broke through the red wall there. Biancone is back to clear for Forest.
It's just not falling, has it, when they've got into that box? That final bit of luck has just not fallen into Brighton's footsteps.
Roberto De Zerbi desperately waving his arms, I think, to get, I don't know whether it's another player forward or just more men forward in total. What have we got left? We've got 3 minutes remaining of added time. Brighton 0, Nottingham Forest 0. Dunk, has he overhit that high lofted pass? I don't think even Lamptey's going to catch that. Runs away from him, and behind it goes for the goal kick.
He's very animated, isn't he? He's one of them head coaches or managers that uses every bit of his technical area, even comes outside, works up a good sweat.
Yeah. What do you think the Brighton fans are going to make of it then, Steve? I mean, it's very early, isn't it? 4 games in charge, but that'll be, if they don't get a goal tonight, that'll be 3 games without a goal, won't it?
Yeah. I remember, was it last season? Was it against a home game against Leeds where they dominated the game, and coming off the home fans booed, and Graham Potter sort of turned and looked and was dismayed really of why they was doing that. But I think they're behind him. They can see the team playing with purpose, playing with intent, and trying to create chances, which they've done, and created very good chances tonight. It's just literally putting them away. But
they're looking to create one more, but they've given the ball away. Nico Williams read that well from inside his own half. Last 2 minutes of the game. Gibbs White chasing with McAllister. Gibbs White just gets there first. McAllister got to be careful with the challenge inside the box. Forces Gibbs White out of the box. Gibbs White then fouls McAllister. McAllister picks himself up and takes the free kick. Just over 90 seconds to play. Brighton 0, Nottingham Forest 0. You can hear the urgency from the Brighton fans inside this stadium. Ball is played to Lewis Dunk. Dunk comes striding forward. Nottingham Forest players back off. Dunk gives it to Lamptey. Lamptey has a chance to try and get some speed up. March makes the run for him on the outside down the right. He plays it back in field to Veltman, across to Dunk. Dunk in the centre circle finds Webster. Webster goes wide to Trossard. Trossard's closed down very quickly by Biancone. Trossard keeps the ball, but he's deep here. Tries to slide it down the left. That doesn't come off. Biancone intercepts. Nottingham Forest appeal for a free kick. Appeal again for a throw. Get the decision, win the throw. It'll be a good point for them, Steve, if they get it.
It will be a good point for Nottingham Forest. I just think, on the other hand, for Brighton and the home fans, I don't think they're going to accept getting just a point against bottom of the league Nottingham Forest, as well as they've done, and very disciplined, especially defensively. Been so impressed in terms of their structure and the way they probably worked on this in the training ground. You can see the distances between the back line and the forward, very compact, made it quite hard for Brighton.
30 seconds to play then. Brighton 0, Nottingham Forest 0. Second half commentary of Crystal Palace against Wolves on the way here on 5 Live and BBC Sounds this afternoon. Second half underway. There's been a goal at Selhurst Park.
Yeah, very early goal. Crystal Palace 1, Wolves 1. Crystal Palace have responded. A good attack down the right hand side. The ball was flighted to the far post, and Michael Elise was there. Crystal Palace 1, Wolves 1.
Second half commentary on the way. 5 minutes of added time is almost up. Here it is up. It's all over. Nottingham Forest get a point on the road. Steve Cooper, the manager, marches over to Roberto De Zerbi. Those two shake hands. 4 games in charge of Brighton for Roberto De Zerbi, and they still can't find that win. The closest they came in the first half, really, Leandro Trossard with a pile driver that hit the crossbar. One good chance in the second half. Pascal Gross didn't make great connection. The ball bounced down into the turf, and Dean Henderson was able to make the save. Nottingham Forest moved off the bottom of the table, 1 point above Leicester, and Brighton, for all the possession and all the attacking, are left frustrated. It's finished. Brighton 0, Nottingham Forest 0.